Yeah, folks, Quilly here, and welcome to our Wednesday live stream, where Twitch is being weird today. Apparently, a few people are saying there's a few issues that they've been having with Twitch, which is, always fun and nice to see. Currently, it seems to be stable. It is unfortunately weirdly playing a commercial break right now, but I figure, we can get started and do the intro anyway. It's going to be fine, and it'll be over by the time we start actually playing the game. Hello, everybody. Apparently, it's an action RPG week. Done a couple of streams of Last Epoch, and we discussed the idea that we could play something else today. Again, I'm going on a holiday break for about a week and a half, so I didn't want to start anything long term. But we thought maybe it'd be a good idea to load up another ARPG, and we can have a discussion about, compare and contrast Last Epoch, Grim Dawn, talk about Path of Exile. I played some Path of Exile this morning to get reacquainted with things, but we did a poll and people were mostly in favor of doing some Grim Dawn, so we're going to go ahead and do that, which suits me fine because Grim Dawn's actually my favorite. Only downside to Grim Dawn is maybe because it's a little bit of an older engine. When I tab out, it pauses the game. An update about the holiday. I had miscalculated. I thought I was going to I thought I was still going to be traveling on Monday the 26th, but I'll actually be back the day before. So we will have a stream on Monday. So we're missing a Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. We're missing 4 streams, and then we're back. Any plans to play some Path of Exile 2 this summer? Very much looking forward to it. So Path of Exile, of course, has, out of all the ARPGs, by far the most build diversity and the most sort of extensive and crunchy and interesting endgame. The issue with it is the campaign and leveling experience is sort of... It's also not the easiest to just sort of experiment with all kinds of builds and abilities because the ability to respec your passive skill tree is a little bit... There's ways, but it's kind of iffy and difficult, especially as a new player. I mean, you can, of course, just swap gems in and out for your skills in Path of Exile, which is great. And if you haven't played Path of Exile, I definitely recommend giving it a go for sure. But I really like the campaign and leveling experience in Grim Dawn so much. I think the story, I think the world is really rich. Like, Path of Exile, first zone. Okay, it's a linear beach. Second zone, still the linear beach. Third zone. Okay, we got a cave system that's sort of, our RNG maze. And then we're like back on some cliffs that's kind of linear, and none of the zones really tell you much of a story. They're just sort of there, which of course is a big part of it because it is kind of modeled off of old school ARPGs like Diablo 2 and things like that. And the thing is, there's fine with just sort of being kind of generic procedurally generated areas, but there's also something interesting about being in an area with some story and some vibe that's kind of feeling okay. So yeah, I don't know. I know what I'll do while you're gone. I'll watch SG1 and Glorious 4-3. I've never watched Stargate. I really need to. So we're gonna start a brand new character here. Now, one of the things in Grim Dawn, you do not pick your character class right away. You just punch in a name and you pick your gender, and then you go. Or you can also specify if your character is a hardcore character, which this one is. Hardcore mode equals permadeath. If we die, that's it. Character done. This character here, I did have a lighter fluid who died in hardcore at level 57. It was very sad. I wasn't paying attention. I was watching some Netflix on the other monitor. So this is Lighter Fluid Jr. I thought that since we'd been doing a fire build in Last Epoch, maybe we'll do a fire build here in Grim Dawn, just to kind of keep a little bit of continuity over there. Game was better when you choose between the genders male, female, and hardcore. Exactly. Well, and that screenshot that people post for that, I believe specifically from Titan Quest, which is basically the same game engine as Grim Dawn, a lot of the same developers. The Grim Dawn dialogue boxes move slightly, but yeah, in Titan Quest, it really looks like you're picking male, female, hardcore as your gender selection, which is great. Not a fan of Path of Exile and Last Epoch not having no gender choice for the classes. That's an interesting point. Apparently, Last Epoch had a Kickstarter with a stretch goal to have gender selection, like character models for the classes, which they didn't have. Of course, not a lot of RPGs did. I think Diablo 3 had gender selection for its character classes. I'm not entirely sure about that. I know Diablo 4 does, but D2 didn't, right? If you're playing the Sorceress, it wasn't Sorcerer, it was Sorceress, and the Amazon, and... Are all the other characters male in Diablo 2? I don't remember. And here, yeah, it's the opposite. You don't pick a class, you just pick a gender and get started in the game. Anyway, with that, there is wonderful cutscene when you come into the game here. You are being hanged at the start because you are possessed by some sort of space demon. But it's okay. The space demon leaves you at the last minute, and so they cut you down so you don't get hanged. This guy here was going to hang us, and he's suggesting that we go talk to a feller in town. So we're going to talk to Captain John Bourbon over here. I believe he's the one who shot me down with his pistol, shot the hangman's rope to get me out of there. And they don't trust us. So right away, we're outside this little town, but it's Berwick Prison. It's an old prison that's been set up as this garrison here. Because the story of Grim Dawn is at some point there was this Grim Dawn. Some people woke up one morning and all of a sudden their neighbors were turning to zombies and people were being possessed by space demons. Which is an intro I've said before, but I think is a great and apt way to describe the game over here. The one thing that's amazing to me about Grim Dawn, and the fact that it hasn't really been copied by other ARPGs, is it's the only ARPG where melee and even just auto-attacking with a ranged weapon feels great. The particular style of locking on with the mouse, like I don't have to click and release the mouse. I just hold it down and it'll move like to moving, but then it'll do sort of a lock-on area around things. I never have to click and release the mouse or anything like that. Whereas a lot of other RPGs, you sort of have to like, you go from a moving to hold on, I got to release and then click again on the target or whatever. I mean, a lot of times what you end up doing is you replace your left click here to move only, and that's common in all RPGs, including Grim Dawn. But yeah, it's the first one where melee felt actually exceptionally good. Did I skip over the house with the pistol? Is it over here? Or is it next house? Oh, it's the next house over here. So in this very first little map here, there's a couple of... Oh, I forgot something as well in town. I could have picked up another bunch of free XP earlier, but that's okay. So we're level 2, so we can pick our first class. And I say first class... there's tons of lore notes you can pick up. Right-clicking on them, you read them, it gives you XP. The lore you get from the notes is fantastic. There's not very much, like, voice acting necessarily in this game. There's some here and there. And a lot of the lore, a lot of the story, by the way, the other thing I like is I can zoom out so much here. A lot of the lore in here is told through these notes that you find throughout the world. So you do have to sort of be a little active about... You're sort of responsible for experiencing the story. But... it's definitely there and interesting. Like here again, we get some more lore notes here. Even if you've played before, you want to pick them up because they give you a little bit of XP, which is lovely. We're just going to come around this building here, kill ourselves our first little mini boss. So the one downside, the one negative I always have about Grim Dawn is the lack of interesting bosses. We still haven't picked our class, which we really should do here in a sec. Certainly make this fight a lot easier. We're just playing on normal difficulty. So first of all, when you finish normal, like there are 3 difficulties where you replay the game: normal, elite, ultimate. But if you prefer, because normal is fairly easy, you can also play normal on what's called veteran mode, where everything's kind of a little tougher and stuff. I'm not going to do it just in the interest of like speed and pursuing through the story. It's certainly not required. So that guy there drops his bloody arm, which is great if you're going to do melee. We're not going to care about that, so we're going to do this. Okay, so class. So at level 2, we're in level 3 now actually. Level 2, you get to pick your first class. At level 10, you get to pick a second class. So your character is always a combination of 2 classes. Hissing. Which does lead you to a lot of variation, because there are currently 9 different classes, so you get 9 times 8 class combinations there, which is a pretty good number of 72. And then within that, there's a lot of variations you can do because, you know, one you'll sort of treat as maybe more of your primary one where you're investing more points than the other. And then there's a whole slew of like unique items that are fairly transformative to your build as well. Because we've been playing a fire type build in Last Epoch this week, I thought we might do it here and start with a Demolitionist. Actually, the very first time I played this game is because you guys, Twitch chat, encouraged me to give it a try because I was fine at Titan Quest. People tried to sell me on Grim Dawn. And we ended up playing a Demolitionist Inquisitioner, which was great. That was my very first character in here. I think we're going to start Demolitionist, and I was thinking I might go Arcanist as a second class. I've also played Demolitionist Oathkeeper. That was the first lighter fluid, who was a shield breaker, I think is what the combination is called, which I think is a very strong combo. I didn't die because it was weak or anything like that. And of course, everyone always wants us to go pet class, right? Necromancer or Occultist or Shaman. Any three, you pick 2 out of 3 of those, and you've got yourself a great pet class no matter where we go. We always play pet classes here on stream because people always want that so much. And I can't blame them. I do love my pet bills. It's the ones I've leveled up the highest. But I thought we'd mix it up this time. So we'll start with Demolitionist over here. So you've got your main mastery down here. Every point you invest in this gives you a bunch of stats, which is actually quite good. But also, raising this does lead to unlocking certain abilities. So Fire Strike, you just use it as your default weapon attack, for example, and now your shooting does more damage. But I was thinking we'd go up to Blackwater Cocktail over here, especially since we have exactly enough points to unlock it. And, you know, we're gonna throw fireballs at people. Molotov fireballs. Yeah, with only one rank in it, it's not necessarily going to be god tier. We'll see. Anyway, let's talk about the story so far. So after cutting me down because they saw that the thing possessing me flew out of the body. I mean, my character doesn't really know how he got here or anything like that because he's been possessed for a while. And it's his first moment of lucidity for a while. So the Captain John Bourbon there doesn't want to let us into the town yet. We sort of have to prove ourselves. So he said, listen, there's a crap ton of undead in this old town. And that's, again, brings me to something I like about this game. It's like these zones are not randomly generated, but they have a lot of character. There's a little, you know, the burning town over there outside the prison, like Burwich and things like that. So all the townspeople have been turned into undead. He wants me to figure out what the cause of that is and put an end to it, and then they'll sort of trust me. Okay, we're not going to start using the Blackwater Cocktail yet, because at what rank, it's definitely not doing enough damage. So let's swing over this way. So we unlocked our first waypoint. Blackwater Cocktail Party, yeah. Oh, hey, you know what we should do? We should invent a drink. Like, what would a Blackwater Cocktail be? Feels like it should be... Maybe it should have some cinnamon drink or something in it, right? It should have a little bit of a peppery flavor. Flame Touch is not a bad idea as well, because it does give us a bunch of extra passive fire damage, which is going to help for us. So we'll put a rank at least into there. I don't think we need Stun Jacks right now, or Flashbangs. We don't need the Fire Strike. We'll want Vindictive Flame. What I'm going to do is I'll put a couple more points in Blackwater Cocktail just to get it up to a useful number. And then after that, we'll split it up. Maybe I'll do like 1, 1, and then 1 in the Mastery or something like that. Because I still want some like baseline stats overall. Oh, I guess the big thing with Blackwater Cocktail is when we get the high potency. That's when it's going to be fairly useful for us. So actually, maybe that'll be the thing. Because the high potency increases the radius dramatically and the damage, but gives us a cooldown. Right now, there's no cooldown on this, but it's fairly small single target and maybe not worth using for what I want. I really want big splash damage radius, but already you can see, so a lot of these skills in Grim Dawn have these little like mutators off to the side that kind of change the baseline way it works. So right now, Blackwater Cocktail is a completely spammable ability with a small radius that does, you know, can help kill groups, but not necessarily that much. And we're going to change it to something with a cooldown and a larger area that's definitely just meant for clearing groups, but isn't as spammable for other situations. So I really have to take out that thing, and I'll pick up these ethereal crystals. Those things keep spawning more creatures as well. They're not the source of the undead. I mean, already it's helping out a little bit, but already we're also finding maybe, you know, okay, things aren't necessarily as slick as we like. One of the things to note in 1.2, they changed these things. These used to be toggle on buffs, and then the game developers were like, why would you ever get a buff and not keep it on all the time? That's just not the case. So with 1.2, and they did run a beta for a while for it, and they changed it so these buffs were just automatically on. You don't have to like put them on your toolbar. You don't have to remember to toggle them on every time you die. They're just always on when you've got it. And it turns out that was overwhelmingly great. That was wonderful. It was just a huge win in every single way. It doesn't make the game like dumber, because it was not like there was any like skill or interesting decisions about toggling on your toggles before. It just removes something slightly tedious. I have no idea what does more DPS in this situation, me shooting him or just like stacking more. I mean, I should at least keep him a little on fire. We're gonna move out these little green blobs. He's hitting me with his own Molotov cocktails. Except his are green and minty. Creme de menthe. Or absinthe. There you go. He's flinging absinthe cocktails at us. The other thing 1.2 did is get rid of potions being in your inventory. Everything works exactly the same as it did before. It's the same buttons. Like, we've got these hotkeys over here. R for healing potion, E for energy potion. The same, you know, sort of cooldown amount of healing. But you used to just like grab a stack a couple hundred in town and then like forget about it forever. And they're like, okay, well, that's dumb. Again, it's not an interesting gameplay decision. So we'll get rid of the physical potions and that'll be fine. All right, starting to get some gear. Every time we level up, we also get some stats over here. I don't know what we're going to want for our build necessarily. For right away, I'm going to put points into cunning. We can always change these around later. Respeccing your stats isn't as easy as respeccing some of the other things, but it's still fairly easy. We'll put some points in cunning so we get some more, we get quite a lot of offensive ability from cunning, which is what we use to land hits, as well as crits. But right now, the important thing is hitting at all. Very important. Blackwater cocktail should be licorice based. Oh, maybe for dark. Or is it a coffee thing? You know, is it like an espresso martini or something? Is it got... Kahlua is a coffee liqueur, right? I mean, I'm not generally a fan of that sort of thing, but... Die, please. Okay, so we're going to get our first shrine over here. These shrines are littered all over the map. One of the things I like as well in this game, yeah, same with Titan Quest, you can bind a key to pick up. So rather than me and my stupid-ass shaky hands having to, like, click on each thing I want to pick up, I just set it to W. W is normally your button to swap your weapon sets around. But I'm like, why would I... You never use that. It's a staple from like a lot of ARPGs. Path of Exile has it as well. No one uses 2 weapon sets because you mostly just have the one best one. Path of Exile, it is handy because what you can do is you can socket in gems you're not using currently but want to level up in your alternate weapon set, and they do level up despite not being active. So like it's not used for its intended purpose in any way whatsoever. And I know there's going to be someone in chat who says, well, actually, I use the swappable weapon sets for, you know, AoE versus bosses. Yeah, okay, congratulations, you're part of the 0.1% that uses that feature. You will use 2 weapon sets in PO2 the way you... Yeah, that's quite interesting. Yeah. I'm hoping that PO2 is a great success. Okay, so we can actually go back to town right now, and I probably should, for a couple of different reasons. So let's do that. It would be handy. I don't know how many Aether Crystals I've got. We might have critical mass to advance another quest, but we'll see. So we're just going to portal back to Devil's Crossing, which will open a personal portal wherever I was. Prefer to quieten yourself. So, Snail, I didn't play Grim Dawn for ages, and despite the fact that I like Titan Quest, because... I really like the setting of Titan Quest. I like the, you know, like ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, etc., etc., etc. That was all really satisfying, and I liked it. And I was like, I don't know, Grim Dawn is so grim. Do I really like it? And it turns out the story in this is pretty freaking fantastic, and the gameplay mechanics are spot on. It also didn't help that in the base game of Grim Dawn only has like 6 classes. And I was like, oh, but Titan Quest has got so many more. Of course, with the expansions, there's more. There's more than 6. There's 9 currently in here, so we got lots of class variety. And there's a new class coming, the expansion. This game's like 10 years old. They're already coming with an expansion. So I kind of messed up. You can grab this note here from outside the prison and then read it for an extra lore injection. So now that we're inside this prison, and it's like, yep, it definitely looks like a prison, which I like. We can talk to various people. This is the spirit guide. This is the person you can go to and respec things if you want. Speaking of, we have a bunch of skill points sitting around. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to level up to 10 ranks mastery in here. I'll put in the point into high potency, and then we'll go and do Blackwater Cocktail. So now we've got a nice big area effect ability we can use. Here's our stash where we can exchange things. We're going to play this semi-solo self-found. We don't need you, or you, or you. This does boost my fire damage. And flame touch. Alright, let's do that. Neither one of these belts actually matter for our situation currently, so that's going to be okay. See you around. Yeah, Grim Dawn's getting another expansion this year, and I think a 10th mastery, which is crazy nuts. Okay, so we went around, we talked to a few townspeople that we can also help. Which is lovely. This person here wanted me to find a certain number of Aether Crystals, which I already had, so we completed that immediately. And now the follow-up for that person is to find their apprentice, although there'll be a little while to go there. We've also been told that the water pump in the town is currently broken and requires some scrap. Now, what's interesting about the Aether Crystals, like here, we're going to get more Aether Crystals. And with scrap, even after we finish that quest, we'll still get scrap, because both of those are just currencies you use for, like, crafting and stuff like that. And so those quests are really there to introduce you to, hey, these are resources you can pick up. So now the radius on my Blackwater Cocktail is much bigger. And we're going to be very happy to just use this to clear trash like crazy. Now we're in the old dump outside of town. We got a nice lovely green haze over here, and we've got some dudes to kill. Because there's someone in town who gave us something immediately. But he did ask us to go and kill 3 guys who used to be townspeople. I think they used to be some of his friends, but they've all turned into horrible monsters. And he wants us to go and put them down. So we're going to do that. We don't have like fantastic single target damage compared to our crazy splash, but there you go. So that's number 1 dealt with, which is great. We don't have an overlay map, although I can make the mini map bigger, which is nice, and I usually do. Kind of wish I could just default it to that. Actually, I should really just keep going up this left edge here as much as possible. So a couple of ranks in there, and then I'm going to put 1 in the base. Oh, wait, I was going to put some in Flame Touched as well, which is still kind of a good idea. Because it is going to boost my cocktail damage, but it's also going to boost my single target damage a little bit, which we could use. Yeah, the thing is, Veteran isn't that much harder. Like, we could swap over to Veteran. It's just mostly slightly slower, in my opinion. Like, I don't find... We could... Here, if people want to compare and contrast, we'll just pop to the main menu for a sec. I'll just swap our difficulty over to Veteran. And then we'll jump back in. A Veteran, I feel, mostly just makes Act 1 feel a little slower, and then you're mostly just going and kicking everything's ass at exactly the same speed after that. Once you get past the Warden, I feel like the speed is exactly the same. So, we've explored some of this area, so it's visible on our map now, but it is grayed out because we haven't visited it in this particular instance. When you quit and relog like this, all the monsters and everything respawn in this area. You can refarm an area if you'd like. And see, like, 1 Blackwater cocktail is still mostly going to finish things off. Now, in the old dump, there is a little dungeon you can access. It spawns, I think, in 1 of 3 different locations. We're going to skip it for now because the boss in there doesn't have anything that we need, and it's actually kind of dangerous. It's mostly, there's a lot of poison damage. We'd want to stack at least a piece of poison resistance on there if we needed to. Here's our first totem. This is something that was added in the Forgotten Gods expansion. And even though we're not in the expansion area, these totems appear everywhere in there. I got to remember now that I'm on Veteran, so I've got to be a little bit more aware of like dodging and shit. And it's because my low single target damage, I actually might not be able to clear these rares right now. This is why I'm going to want more points into Flame Touched as well. Oh, actually, hold on. I wonder if I have a component to add the Fireball or Firebolt or whatever it's called onto my weapon and use that instead of my weapon's actual auto attack. That's what we need. I don't know if we've picked one up. I have one in my stash. Just depends on how solo self-found we kind of sort of want to play this. I didn't wipe my saves, so I have access to all my recipes anyway. Not that I have all the recipes unlocked in hardcore here, but... Jeez, dude, you're tough. Yeah, he would have gone down if I had the Firebolt. We're gonna have to see. I can't remember... What's that component called? So I've been picking up a few components. You can check some of these weapons as well. So like Rolling Blood, for example, this is a component. You can throw it on a ring, amulet, or metal, and it gives you a boost. These components are great. You get tons of them. Spend them early. Spend them often. These Polished Emeralds, you're going to get about 30,000 of them. I mean, any components you're getting right now, you're going to have 1 million of. So like, I'll go ahead and just throw this on a hat for some stats, which are going to be meaningless later on. Physical damage, offensive ability, great. We'll go throw this on one of our rings that we happen to be wearing. I'm not even looking what it is. So Shield Steel is interesting because this goes on shields and weapons. And all the things that go on shields and weapons do also give you an ability. So this would give us Ice Spike. I want the equivalent for this for fire damage. There's also the lightning one. I suppose I could temporarily put it on. I'm thinking, though, what we probably want to do is maybe equip one of these better guns. Now, this is showing me the DPS increase. This is on my auto attack, not my Blackwater Cocktail. Although if I were to go and change the auto attack here, so it's just Blackwater Cocktail, now I'd be able to compare the difference. So Blackwater Cocktail would lose tons of damage by going to one of these two-handers because we wouldn't have the skull anymore, which is increasing our fire damage. And since it's basically doing nothing on our auto attack as well, I'm not going to bother switching to any of those right now. Have I played Dungeons & Dread more? I don't know, have I? Okay, so we cleared the totem, which dropped a bunch of stuff. We're in, like, early Act 1 here, so it didn't drop anything exciting. Very soon, these totems will be guaranteed to always drop a unique item, starting with epics and then later on legendaries. I'm going to go ahead and change my loot filter, which is lovely and built into the game over here. We're no longer want to see common items. Very soon we're going to turn off even magic items over here. I could also set some other filters for types, which might not be a bad idea. I think we're probably strictly going to be playing range, so I'm going to hide the melee stuff. I'll leave these on because I don't know what's going on. Only show me weapons that maybe increase my fire damage. That's probably fair because I think that's all we're going to care about. And then for other gear, if it boosts my masteries, yes. If it gives me any sort of speed boost, offensive ability, defensive ability, or resistance, which is going to still show us most armor here, but it's going to slightly trim down. You can see we're not seeing as much crap. This is everything on the ground. This is less stuff on the ground. Now we can grab some of that. And you can basically not show common items immediately. Like the direction that most ARPGs have taken in Grim Dawn, it's not really worth looting everything and then selling it over and over. You're just looking to pick up things that are more likely to be useful. That's usually what I do. Like, once I got my loot filter set, then I'm going to start picking up, you know, those things mostly, and then at some point when I get full, I'll take a look to see if anything might be worth an upgrade or not. So I'm sort of taking a bit of a wibbly-wobbly route here through Whitemire, because it's been a little while since I played the start, and I don't really remember everywhere to go, and also now that we're on Veteran, it's like, okay, I'm going to have to make sure to maybe farm a little bit more stuff, but that's okay. So we got a Rift in Whitemire. Oh, this one is defended by Ethereals. So it happens sometimes. We are special in that we can use these rifts. Because we were infected by a space demon for a little while, it means we can use these rifts, and that's really the only thing that makes us that much more special in this world. You're literally dead hanged. Well, I wasn't dead yet. We were being hanged, and the space demon left. And then we were cut down, or shot down, rather, from being hanged. So we never did die, as far as I know. So you can see here the hardcore mode, it's just mostly slower. Oh, I forgot to level last turn. We're going to put a point in Vindictive Flames, because that's quite good. Yeah, when we get hit, we'll do a little bit of backlash. That's going to be okay. And then we'll do that. So that'll be the general trend for now. I haven't missed Milton Hart, have I? I don't have to backtrack for that. I think the next things I'm looking for is Milton and Julius. Who I think are... I mean, there's a few different places they can spawn, but generally speaking, they're more likely spawn on the right-hand side over here. I don't remember. Someone might know. Oh, there's a star over there. Hello, Julius. You have a weirdly sweet drink to sell me? Oh, yeah, so, Nofuju says, on Monday you said something about the loot system being changed. Can you explain that? So, I mean, it hasn't been dramatically changed. What they did is they reduced the amount of loot that gets dropped in the game, but increased the quality. So the idea is you should be getting just as much good stuff as before, with less junk sort of showing up. Just to keep the noise down. That's also, I think, in that one, they also reduce the sell price of the items, and because you're getting less of it, you're going to get less money, but they increase the amount of drops that happen. If you are playing a pet build, this area over here, this guy here, always has this Carver's Conjuring Bone. We got the Stalwart variant over here, but this gives you pet damage bonus and a chance to summon an extra dude, which is nice. Okay, here's Milton. Milton's always in one of the 3 houses around here or something like that, like very close by. So usually you get both Julius and Milton kind of at the same time, but not necessarily. I want to move a little further away from this Aether Crystal. Single target damage is still a little on the low side, especially playing Veteran here, because just Veteran is wildly inflated enemy damage is the biggest thing. I don't know if they actually do more damage, but the fact that you don't kill them as quickly means you're going to be receiving more damage here. Every now and again, you'll see a little like thing spurt off of me here. Oh, I still haven't spent my devotion point, which we could do. That's Uldrum's Wrath or whatever it's called. So I'm just starting out in this game. We're getting all the current DLC right away. The DLC is excellent and definitely worth doing. Unless you're specifically looking, like if you're going in completely blind, then you can just buy the base game, and that's fine. because you can always, if you add the DLC later, it just works. But having the DLC means you have access to more classes, which might entice you more. So if it's all on sale, I'd say buy all of it. If it's not, just get the base game and wait for the rest of it to come on sale. I guess it's fine. I'm going to bring my cunning up to maybe 10, just for early speed, and then we'll see where we're going to go from there. I don't know if I should probably put some extra filters on, because this is still a little crazy gear-wise. Oh, good. We got a Searing Ember. Perfect. So I'm going to throw this onto my... I don't know, whatever. We'll throw it onto this gun. So Searing Ember, what it does is it does add just flat out extra fire damage, which is great, but then it gives us a fire blast skill. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a little change over here. My left click is now just going to be moved to. My right click is now going to be fire blast. I'm going to put my Blackwater Cocktail on 1. So now I'm no longer shooting my gun. I'm just using the fire blast, and it does so much more freaking damage than my gun ever did. It's crazy. All right. So now if I'm just right clicking, like it's just murdering these guys. Perfect. That's what we want. Now, the Fire Blast? Fire Blast. The Fire Blast doesn't really, like, scale up. Like, you don't level up with it, but it's going to be there. Let me spend my devotion point. I've only got the 1. The first thing I always do... So this tree is like, hey, are we Path of Exile? No, not really, but there's more crap going on. First thing I always do for basically all my characters is I go into Jackal here just for the total speed boost. Often I'll respec out of this later, but early on I think it's great. We do need some purple affinity here, which is the chaos affinity. So we do it at the crossroads. We put a point in there. We get the health, and then we get more devotion points. We'll start working out in Jackal. Okay, so now that I finished this area, which is technically Sodden Hollow, we're going to just push forward here. We're looking for Negan, and we're still looking for scrap, but you don't have to look for it anywhere specific. You'll just collect scrap as you go. Oh, I forgot that my buttons changed. I'm like, why am I not cocktailing these guys? Devotion, yeah, Devotion's the one thing that is very confusing for a new player, and the one thing where, like, you know, following a guide or something can be quite helpful. But because you can respec things in this game, it's not the same. Like, this game and Last Epoch are quite good for telling new players, hey, just go in, it's fine. There are, like, a cave or 2 in this zone that also have devotion shrines, and I can't remember which ones they are, but I think this one here is one of them. Now, you want to get all your devotion points, because that does add a lot of power. There's a cap for the devotion points you can have. The cap is 55. There are way more... Okay, there are not 55 devotion points to get in the normal playthrough, but once you do the second difficulty on Elite, and the third one on Ultimate, I think in total there's probably something like 150 devotion points that you can get. So if you miss something, it's not the end of the world. But there's a shrine here. Now this one here, the last one, oh yeah, my buttons change. The last one, all I had to do was spend a resource to get it. Here I'm gonna have to do a fight. Not a tough fight, it's not like a totem. All right, we're gonna need these Slith necklaces. Is that my first one? No, it's my second one, good. I'm gonna get 3 of those so we can turn in a quest. Embrace of the Scorching. Yeah, let's do that. It's got resistances, which is great. Like in many ARPGs, you do want to get your resistances up. And usually one of my first priorities with gear here is just, does it have resistance? Yes, no, go for it. This cap's actually going to be a good upgrade, so that's going to be fine. We can't wear this now, and it does have double resistance, nice, but we're not as worried about grabbing this. No to you. No to you. Oh, one of the things, the only mod I'm running is, it's called Rainbow Filters. It adds colors to these tooltips to make it a lot easier to spot things at a glance. That is all it does. It's one of the things that I'm surprised that they didn't add it to the base game yet. It doesn't really add, like, new player unfriendly complexity. It, in fact, just increases the legibility and understandability of things. I wonder if I would have wanted to swap to this gun here. I know it says I would lose DPS right now, but I think that's because I would be losing my Fire Blast. The calculation can be a little confusing. So I got that. I don't have to be in this cave anymore. But it may have some slits, so... Nope, okay. Oh yeah, if I keep going down, there'll be the second exit, which I think I want to take in this case, because I think it'll go closer to where we go. The place where we want to turn in the 3 Slith necklaces are a little bit out of the way. So I prefer not to... go there and pick up the quest first. I want to already have everything I need to complete the quest before I go there in the first place, just to save some walking. Now, what's annoying about it, though, is it is very random whether these guys drop Slith necklaces or not. I think it's a particular variant of them that does. So already I'm going to change my filter here to no longer show me magic items. I'm going to want rare items. In Grim Dawn, items have exactly one prefix and one suffix. So unlike Poe and Diablo and Last Epoch, a lot of those will have like up to 2 maybe of each. Here it's 1 of each. And some items only have 1, but pretty rare. Most things have 1 prefix, 1 suffix. Those prefixes and suffixes come both in magic and in rare variant. If either one of them is rare, then the whole item is just called a rare. So my filter now is set to not show me anything that doesn't have at least 1 rare affix on it. We're just going to start getting pickier and pickier, which is good. So someone asked in chat, this was Bubble Bobble Drake, excellent name by the way, what class to combo with Necro? So it depends on what you're trying to do with it, is the problem, right? Grim Dawn is fun. Like, are you playing Necromancer because you want to be a pet summoner? In which case you're going to want Shaman or Occultist. So Necromancer, Shaman, and Occultist are the 3 classes that do a bunch of pet stuff. So if you want to play a pet character, you pick 2 of those and combine them. There we go. There's our 3rd necklace. Wonderful. That's what I was here for. You can see this little vendor icon on the map. It's not actually directly in that direction, but we'll get there. Oh, right. And I can spend my devotion point over here to start Jackal to get the extra energy. The next pip that I really like, because it's 6% to all speed. That's attack speed, cast speed, and movement speed. Now, if you want to play Necromancer as like a caster type of person, then there's a few other combos that you could look at. We should talk about reduction resistance and stacking. So this person here wants us to get these necklaces, which I've done, and he gives me a ring, which is actually a pretty nice ring early on. No, am I getting confused? Oh, right here. There it is. Because it's got a crap ton of resistances. You can see poison, acid, vitality, and elemental resistances. Even if we weren't playing hardcore, dying is bad because it slows you down. So pro tip, dying is bad. Try not to do that. And in hardcore, of course, if it happens, our character gets deleted. Technically, it stays as a ghostly character in your character creation. Now, the other thing you can do with Necromancer that is really strong, and if you've never played the game before, is like the ultimate starter build, is Necromancer plus Soldier, which it calls you the Death Knight class, which is very exciting, is an excellent starter for lots of different reasons. Although you wouldn't actually be starting with Necromancer. You'd mostly be focusing on the Soldier side of it and just be using the Necromancer side to amplify you ever so slightly. So if you really want to play something that feels like a Necromancer, that wouldn't necessarily be the combo for that vibe necessarily, but it is super duper strong. If you want to be like big smashy sword undead knight guy, that would be the thing. There you go. This spot here always has these shoulders, which is great because we didn't have shoulders yet. Coming over here, picking up some more resistance. Lovely. Again, I'm just arbitrarily choosing to put 10 points to cunning just to give us a certain amount of offensive ability early. Offensive ability determines whether you hit with an attack or even crit with an attack or with anything. That includes spells and things like that. So we want a relatively consistent hit rate. A lot of times I wouldn't be putting in cunning, but with this character, I suspect we're going to be using some guns. Actually, I'm not even sure if that's the case. Some items do need a certain amount of gear to equip. We might end up going pretty heavy into physique soon, just because it does add to our survivability thanks to defensive ability. On the other hand, with this character, we might actually invest in spirit, because it does, I believe, boost elemental damage, which is what we're doing. Interesting combo for Demolitionists is Occultist with Hellhound and Raven as a kind of hybrid fire chaos damage pet build. That's cool. And what's funny is, like, I said something like, let's say Necromancer Occultist, right? I said, oh, that's like a good pet build because those are 2 classes that focus on pets. You could take that and not do any pet stuff whatsoever. They have lots of other skills. Don't know where that goes or if that matters. Foggy Bank, is this where we find Negan? Oh man, I'm not putting my points into things. Let me cap out the Blackwater Cocktail, put some more points in the Flame Touched. Ah, it is. There's the star. Blackwater Cocktail. See, now all of a sudden it's like, oh look, we went up to veteran difficulty, and we're still just basically going around one-shotting everything. So Oh, it's not Negan, it's Luther. Hey, Luther, come to town. So he's an extra vendor, but you also get some rep and XP from doing this. I'm going to backtrack a little bit in case we missed something, but I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, so I had the ability to pick my second class now. So why haven't I? Well, I want to tell you this. If you're new to the game, picking your second class right away can be a bit of a noob trap. Because what if you change your mind? And the other thing is, spreading out your points between two classes is often not the path to success. Right? It's much better just focus on one or two core abilities. And oftentimes that means in the same class, because it might be abilities that come a little bit later. So I think I will probably go and unlock the Arcanist class just to lock us into Sorcerer as a concept. But maybe not invest any more points past that. Does anyone know if there's anything else I need in Foggy Bank? I think Negan might be a little bit further. There's a totem here, so I guess we'll go and grab that one. And there's a cave up there too. I'm not sure that it's a cave with a totem in it though. I think that might just be a cave with the little mini boss, who I don't think we need to kill for this. Kessim, thanks for the gift subs. We'll pop this totem. Yeah, these earlier totems aren't bad. Just the one hero unit, the ones with the star here, elite. But they also don't give you massive rewards. But the later totems pack 2 or 3 elites in them. And again, they guarantee you a rare. So we did invest a lot in our skills, so they are costing us a fair amount of mana. Just waiting for the cooldown on the healing potion to come up. There we go. Oh, I haven't used it yet, but the other thing the 1.2 patch added is this little charge forward over here. It does have a little bit of a cooldown. But it's very good in boss fights to help you dodge stuff. And it does let you move a little bit faster as well. But yeah, I think all taken care of. Kessim, thank you. That brings you up to 45 total. That's awesome. Tried Songs of Six? Yes, Songs of Six I do have on my channel. We've got a short run in there, and I do want to revisit it. Yeah, this is just the cavern with I think with the named boss guy in here, right? Yeah, there he is there. I don't think I care about killing him. I don't think he has anything to offer us on this build. I mean, if you're gonna chase me, then I might give it a go. Oh, okay. So this thing on the screen that you're seeing right now, this is something new. This is, what do they call that? I'm gonna mouse over it in time. But basically, while that's happened, my armor's broken. It's real bad. What you want to do is dodge. The enemies will turn, I think, yellow a little bit to indicate that they're about to do this this sort of shatter attack. Again, I can't remember what it's called. So that's the shit you want to dodge. Once it's already on your screen, then mostly you want to run and give some space because you're going to be taking tons of bonus damage from everything. Yeah, okay. Oh, so I said when I was talking about class combos, one of the things I should talk about is resistance reduction. All classes, as far as I know, have something in them somewhere that reduces the resistance an enemy has to particular types of damage. And that's very important because there's only a certain amount of raw damage you can add to your class, right? Once this is maxed out, yeah, we can get items that give us extra skill points in this, which lets us go past the maximum. And of course, we'll find items with, added fire damage and all those things. But theoretically, there's a maximum to how much damage we can pack into this. So the next way to increase the amount of damage we do beyond, say, casting speed or crit rate or anything like that is to strip away enemy resistances. So for example, here, Agonizing Flames, which is something that we can eventually add to our Blackwater cocktail, reduces all of our target's resistances while it's on, which is kind of nice. And there's a few other things. So most classes will have that. And so one of the things that can happen when you're thinking kind of long term, or after you've picked your two classes, is you want to see what resistance reductions they might have in common, what kind of overlap they might have there, because that might guide you into what element you might want to play with. There's a handy spreadsheet. I've got bookmarked somewhere. I think this might be. I think this is the link here. Yeah, there you go. This handy spreadsheet right over here has a breakdown of the types of ways you can generate resistance reduction as well as overlap. Now, the one downside with going Arcanist, which is what I'm thinking of, is the Arcanist doesn't have a way to strip fire resistance. That's the one sort of anti-combo that's going on here. We don't have that. On the other hand, Arcanist actually gives us a crap ton of survivability. Arguably, the Inquisitor probably gives us a little bit more, but I think we're probably going to do this. So does Arcanist not have any resistance stripping at all? Maybe that's what it is. So right now we haven't locked in yet. As soon as we spend 1 point in this, though, we will be locked with Arcanist. You can respec basically everything in this game except your class picks. At some point that gets locked in. But what are we looking for here? So yes, the elemental exchange over here just gives us crap tons more elemental damage, which stacks nicely. Also increases our energy regeneration, which is really nice. The Sphere of Protection might be one way to increase our defenses. We can get a bunch of Spirit and offensive ability over here. So Spirit increases our elemental damage, offensive abilities are to hit rate, and our crit chance, which is really good. I think Nullification is a good defense, right, with the Purge. Flash Freeze does do some negative fire resistance stuff. It's only while they're frozen. You freeze an enemy and then they have, yeah, this huge dump to resist. But that's the one thing. So it's like kind of contextual. There's nothing like automated or innate going on. I don't know if we take one of these elites. Do we go for Reckless Power, maybe? Maybe we end up going for Reckless Power in the end. Turn it on while it's running. We do get the extra fire damage and stuff. But I don't know. I think the biggest thing we're going to take from Arcanist is probably survivability and utility. Kessim, we did stream some Millennia. I don't think I put it up on YouTube yet, which I got to make sure to do. That's part of one of the things, though, for while I'm away at the trip is going to be this sort of backlog of Twitch stuff to make sure there's still content there. We did play it. I'm excited for it. It's still so early that I don't know what the extended game is going to feel like, but I'm very excited for it. You know what? Screw it. Let's put a point in here. Well, let's throw on Iskandra's Elemental Exchange. It's a buff. It's going to be running. It gives us some flat bonus elemental damage, which is a mix of fire, cold, and lightning. And then also gives us 10% elemental damage increase and a little bit of regen. And I'm just going to leave it there. It's going to be fine. We'll just be locked in. Otherwise, am I going to want to max out Flame Touch? Because the other thing that's good is just putting more points in Demolitionist so we can get to maybe Demon Fire and Agonizing Flame. We might make use of Grenado or Canister Bomb. I really like the Mortar Trap. It's a lot of fun to play with. Although, honestly, if all we do is Blackwater Cocktail all day long, there's not going to be anything wrong with that. When in doubt, you can always just level up your base mastery. Those stats are really useful. So the bridge is out over here. If I did have a bunch of scraps and iron bits, I could repair it, but there's no reason to do that right now because we're going to want to go through the underground pass on normal difficulty here. And we're playing Veteran, but Veteran's like a variant of normal difficulty. We want to go through here the first time because there is a shrine down here we want to pick up. And yeah, I apparently got bullied into like loading up Veteran difficulty, but most Grim Dawn players will tell you, even people who have played a bunch and, you know, of multiple level 100 characters are like, yeah, Veteran's not really necessarily worth it. It's not, if you know what you're doing, it doesn't actually represent a greater difficulty. It just makes the early game a little bit slower. But, you know, I want you guys to think I'm cool, so I guess we'll play on Veteran. Yeah, it's hardcore Veteran. Hardcore is not a difficulty. Hardcore is a mode with permadeath. It doesn't change anything about the baseline difficulty. The only thing with hardcore is if you die, your character's done. Veteran is a variant of normal difficulty. Elite and Ultimate. So again, this, just like Diablo 2 and heck, Path of Exile for a long time, has you playing through the game up to 3 different times, although it is kind of skippable in a very different ways. So we're playing on normal. This is our normal paths here because we haven't unlocked Elite and Ultimate yet. But we're playing a optional mode for normal called Veteran, which just increases the difficulty a little bit. There we go. So we got ourselves another devotion point, so I'm going to be very happy to throw it into Jackal. Oh, you're still alive too. Okay, so I've cleared another shrine, so I got myself another devotion point, so I'm going to put the second one into Jackal, which is the reason we're here, because of the 6% total speed. I'll probably finish the Jackal tree for now, and then at some point there's a good chance we'll respec out of it. There is a movement speed cap, so once we get gear that's got that much, then we really won't need Jackal as much. Oh, Ancient Shambler. Mana situation is sucky, though. What I need to do, and maybe in the interest of time, maybe I'll go to my stash, which again, we're not necessarily being strict about solo self-found, but it's kind of there. I should have a bunch of, what are they called? Ectoplasms? Which gives you a crap ton of mana regen. We could wait until we find some natural. I might even have some in my inventory already. And you get tons of them. They're a very common thing. And they're mostly just an early game resource. Later on, you're gonna have better stuff. But right now, it would do us a great amount of speed boost. And this is where like the veteran slowdown is. Like this fight would have been done quite a while ago on normal as opposed to veteran. And I happen to be careful. Hey! You're supposed to be click to move. Definitely, ooh, that can get you killed. You want your left click to not start, like, when you want to move, you don't want your left click to accidentally be, like, blowing up crates or some shit. You just want to be on move. Alright, there you go. So that guy's finally dead. No, I haven't played with any class mods for Grim Dawn yet. Good. Resistance aren't getting too bad. The poison acid one's the one you want to get kind of earliest, so that's working out okay. All right, we'll do that. I'll put a few points in physique, and we'll see. We did get ourselves. Oh, we got ourselves our first epic over here, Blade Ward's Courage. So it does require level 15, so we won't be able to put it on for a while. And I'm not even sure that it's one that we're going to care about. I was going to say, have I gotten other amulets? Because the salt bag doesn't do much for us, except for a plot thing later on. I don't really need... Oh, it's got energy regen. Although so does our Chilled Silver Band. I like that the Stalwart Silver Band has some health. All right, we'll throw that on. That's going to be fine. Yeah, let's make... we'll pop out here. We'll get ourselves the next waypoint. Then we'll head to town. And we'll go and throw on a few components for my chest just to accelerate things ever so slightly here. And early on, it would not be a bad thing for me to just throw these polished amulets on everything. I've got some extra searing embers, so if I do replace my weapon, let's see. Yeah, Francis's Gun of Scorching. We actually got really lucky on this. So Francis's gun, you're always guaranteed to get in the first room. The fact that it's got of Scorching on it is phenomenal luck. That it's got this fire and burn damage thrown on here. So, this has got of Scorching, but it's not as good. This is Searing. But again, it's actually not as good as what I'm already using, as it turns out. Oh, the guide should work well number 2. Yeah, there could potentially be a few like slight balance tweaks here and there, but generally speaking, all the build guides that exist for the previous version of the game should still be valid in 1.2. I choose playing veteran mode because I got bullied into it. And I wanted people to think I was cool and elite. Yeah, I don't normally play in veteran mode just because the only thing it does is make this early part of the game a little bit slower. I mean, if you're a new player, veteran mode will feel a frack ton harder for you. But if you're a good player, if you're an experienced player, I should say, you know enough mechanics to get around it anyway. And the thing with an experienced player is what's going to happen is you're going to go through the early content very fast until you get to the point where things have caught up to like your character strength. And it's just, veteran just moves that a little closer to the front. That's all. I want to read that for some lore. So if I go over here, this is my shared stash between characters, and very conveniently, we've got a button to dump components. So we can do that, and we got tons of stuff. And again, so I'm not going to play strictly solo self-found here, although just for the components and recipes, we might be a little bit lazy. If we could just find some ectoplasm, yeah, this over here, we'll throw that on. I don't even need it on everything. We'll just throw a couple of pieces on here. So the ectoplasm gives us more energy, which I don't care about more energy. It gives us energy regen for a second, which is what I am looking for. Other than that, tell you what, I'm not even going to use any like crazy good stuff. I'm just going to throw some polished emeralds, which fits on basically everything, just to get some early stats. Polished emeralds are basically worthless in the long run, so we may as well. And then we'll throw some just little armor on these things, which is nowhere near anything optimal. What we'll really be looking for is like, hey, do we have anything that can increase our resistances or anything like that? We'll do that. Let me go and dump this epic in there. And then the rest, we'll probably assume we're just going to sell. So if you do, yeah, you think you're going to do a summoner build, like me some necromancy. In the early game, necromancer's skeletons turn out to be insane. This salt bag technically is used for a quest much later in the game, but you can always get all your new characters always start with the salt bag, so you can always make a new character and just put the salt bag in your stash, and then you'll have it. Okay, so we've done that. So we turn in enough scraps here, so he was able to fix the water pump, but the problem is the water's pumping, but it's all polluted and poisoned now. So he's asked us to go down to the cellar and figure out what the heck's happening there. So we're going to go and do that. Slams go down, yeah. So again, anything that you equip to a weapon or shield, the things that go in that slot, well, other than the polished emerald over here, will generally give you a skill. So I'm using it for Fire Blast right now, which is this here. But one of them gives you slam. There's a few others, and they're very handy. So yeah, if you're gonna go necromancer, I think I was interrupting myself. You can get the skeletal summoning immediately, and it's really good for the early game. And in fact, you can keep going with the skeletons for a fracking long time. And you can make it as part of your main build if you want. That's fine. But even if that's not your late game plan, you can start by just like maxing out the skeletons. Use the skeletons to carry you through like all of normal difficulty into elite and then some or whatever. But also there's another pet in there that's more permanent. Like the skeletons are sort of, you get lots of them, but they're kind of squishy and don't last that long. And there's also another pet in there that's quite a lot stronger, and I can't remember the name of it right now. So there's a couple of different options. And so if I'm playing like a hardcore summoner class, usually I'm looking for the big, chunky, more permanent pets. So I might, if I start with Necromancer, then I'm going to use a bunch of skeletons. But at some point, especially when I get my second class, I'm going to swap over to the Blight Fiend. Thank you very much. The Blight Fiend, which is the big, chunky Necromancer boy. And then maybe the Briarthorn and the Ravens or something like that. Or whatever. I can't remember like what's from the Occultist and what's from the Shaman and different things like that. And that's the thing, even if you were following like a strict build guide from start to finish, a lot of times you're still going to do some respecking along the way, because the stuff that your late game is going to be is not going to be, it's not going to be something you have access to early on. And a lot of times the build guides, what you're looking at is like end game builds that also get activated by having a certain combination of unique items and things. So don't, if you look up a build, don't look at that. Like some of them do include leveling guides, but you don't look up builds for your leveling. And in fact, this game here, you don't need builds for leveling at all. Because first of all, many things are viable. Secondly, what is viable is going to change over time as you discover new gear. And thirdly, respecking is very easy in this game. And so experimentation is encouraged. Only thing you don't want to do is spread out your points too much. All right, if you end up putting like 1 point in a bunch of different things, then you're going to have a whole bunch of things that are pointless. Whereas if you just focus on a couple of things, then you're going to have a couple of very powerful tools. And that's what you want to do. But that's sort of general advice for most games, Spreading yourself out thinly is not usually the way you win most games. Oh, I wanted to make a note. One of the DLCs for this, which is not an expansion really, is called the Crucible. That one is optional. It's just sort of like an alternate, like kind of arena combat mode, which is it's kind of funsies and stuff, but not a lot of people play a lot of time there. I think that was sort of the earliest kind of end game style repeatable content for the game, which has mostly been supplanted by the Shattered Realm, which is from the Forgotten Realms expansion. Forgotten Gods expansion. Forgotten Realms would be a D&D setting. All right, so lots of hero enemies in this one. Lots of elites. As these guys die, the totems will drop a bunch of loot. There you go. Okay. And yeah, the thing with totems, and that is from the Forgotten Gods expansion, or is it from Ashes of Malmoth? I might be wrong. It's from one of the 2 expansions. They're great because they're fun little, difficult, it's like semi-difficult challenge. They remind me of like League content you'd find in Path of Exile, for example. But yeah, other than like the first few when you're super low level, they're guaranteed to drop at least 1 unique item. Oh, I got hit by a breach. I can't remember. Sunder, that's what they call it. I got hit by another Sunder thing, so I gotta be careful not to take damage. And ideally, I got hit again. As I say, oh, he just flashed yellow. You want to dodge when he flashes yellow, when any boss flashes yellow, because that's when they're advertising that they're gonna do one of their sundering attacks. See, did he flash yellow for this one? Yeah, see? I let myself get hit there intentionally, because he flashed yellow, and then the next ability he did, that was the one that was going to do the Sunder. So there you go, he just did it again there, but I was able to dodge that one. There you are. I'm super bad at this sort of thing, so I'm going to get hit by those Sundering attacks all the time. All the time. Which is not great as a hardcore character. Pro tip, don't get hit by things that'll make you take like double damage. I actually don't know how much extra damage you take when you're sundered, but I know it's more. Yeah, it's not the most obvious. It's not flashing, it's just there's a little bit of a yellow glow around the thing, and yeah, it's easy to get lost. All right, so we got ourselves another shrine. So I'll finish the Jackal Devotion. What's nice about it is completing this does give me 3 points of Chaos Affinity, which actually means I can go and respec out of the Crossroads one, because I still have some Chaos Affinity now. So we completed this. We killed the dude who was poisoned in the water hole. So we can go back to Devil's Crossing. And let Barbie know
Any luck clearing out those? Well,
that that's all done, which gives us more inventory space. Huzzah! We're gonna a few of the side quests that are technically optional, but obviously we're gonna want to do them. Give us extra carrying capacity, which is great. You can get a total of 5 extra bags, so we got our first one of those. And there's, if you happen to miss one of those quests on normal, it's okay. There's more than enough quests to complete them, but probably you're gonna want to go and do that. I suppose, yeah, you're not there. We're gonna go talk to the spirit guide here with the respec lady. So what we can do is we can remove points from anything we've done, but I'm happy with these. But I'm going to do devotions. I'm going to remove the points from the crossroad. So I've got myself a devotion point back here. Now I can keep spending points on devotions that needed the chaos affinity because I've got 3 points from the jackal. But and I might actually, because we are going to get the viper. Viper's going to be nice for us. What else are we going to do? I think we're probably going to grab the turtle, especially playing in hardcore mode over here. Grabbing the turtle's kind of nice. This procs when you hit 50% health, which forms a defensive barrier around you and stops you from dying. Oh, yeah. Permit false 76. There you go. You can post a link to the expansion for Grim Dawn. See, a turtle's pretty good in general. Things we're gonna want later. We're gonna want to go down, I think, the Soleil's Witchblade. So these constellations will give you passive points for putting points in, but sometimes they have something else at their capstone, which you actually link to an ability. So here, what I'm gonna want to do is link Eldritch Fire to my Blackwater Cocktail, so that it's got a 15% chance on attack. Now that number is a little fuzzy because, first of all, sometimes the percentage changes depending on what skill you link this to, because skills with longer cooldowns, the percentage chance will go up as a way to balance that, which is a very nice way for them to do it. The other thing is this can proc on ticks of things that are damaged over time, which I think the Blackwater Cocktail would count. So because we put it down on the ground and it keeps every second dealing damage to everything within it. So I think with every second it has a chance of triggering this Eldritch Fire, which is a way to strip away some of their fire resistance, which is nice. Plus it does a bunch more fire damage, which is good. So we got to progress over here. What we need is a total of 4 Chaos Affinity and 6 Eldritch Affinity. So we might want to focus first on, say, unlocking some Eldritch stuff to get up to Soleil's. But I'm wondering, because we're playing hardcore, I wonder about getting the turtle first. Blackwater Cocktail easily damage twice every second. Thanks, Mortal Kombat. You know what? Let's, in the interest of moving forward, let's do it. We need some, what's the yellow called? Order. We need some order affinity, so we'll do that, and then we'll get some tortoise stuff to not die quite as quickly. All right. I think we're done in town. We still have to find Negan. Still Still running in Whitemire. I might have passed Negan. I don't know. Let's see what happens. If I go over here, let's see. We can always back up. Depends if build's more ideal in hardcore. Yeah, I mean, even in softcore, you don't want to die all the time because it slows you down. You do lose, not at low levels. I don't remember when it starts. Could be level 10, could be level 20. I have no idea. At some point, you do start to lose XP when you die. For all I know, it starts right away at level 1. It's not a ginormous amount of XP, especially if you go and recover your tombstone afterwards. But obviously, A, it's generally not desirable. And B, even if it didn't have that, dying still slows you down. So you don't want to die. Makes it very difficult to deal with bosses as well if you keep dying on your attempts. So survivability, being alive is a way to guarantee your DPS. So we did get a quest in that last camp from this apprentice blacksmith who would like to help us in town, but he needs this special hammer, the Malleum Menhir over here. And we actually get a choice through this conversation about whether we take this hammer and bring it back to the apprentice blacksmith or bring this blacksmith into town. There's a few choices that you can do in this game, which is kind of nice. They're not going to make or break your game either way. You don't have to worry about decision paralysis for it. There are slight differences and variations that come up, but it's not a huge deal. And one of the interesting things to do that you can, when you do this again on different difficulties, you can make a different choice. So here on normal, we sided with Angrim. Or I think that was his name. On Elite, we could side with the apprentice instead. And then when we want to craft something, they have slightly subtly different bonuses that can happen. So when we want to craft something, we could just go to the appropriate difficulty and do our crafting there, if we want a particular bonus. You'll notice this cave here doesn't appear on the minimap. So a bunch of caves are like that, and they can spawn in different areas, so it can be a little tricksy to find sometimes. I don't think we need Grenado right now. We might bring it in as a secondary ability, but I'm not really feeling the need. For now, I'm going to bring Flame Touched up to the soft cap. So you see that this number is in blue. That's because we have an item that's giving us an extra rank or 2, +2. So your current level is 10 +2 over here. So we're sitting at 12 of 12. We can go beyond this because I can invest 12 points into this, and then the +2 will bring us to 14, so 14 of 12. There is a hard cap for your skills, which is 10 above the normal maximum. So the normal maximum for the hard cap for this would be 22. I might be wrong. Someone might correct me in chat. Anything beyond that, you get 0 benefit. Anything beyond this so-called soft cap, you get reduced benefits per point, generally speaking. So usually your main attack, like if our main attack's Blackwater Cocktail, I'm going to want it all the way to the hard cap. But for secondaries things, sometimes it might not be as valuable to go beyond the soft cap because you'd rather have some points in other things there. So that's something to kind of consider. But yeah, I think Blackwater Cocktail is going to be our primary, especially for leveling, where the biggest thing is area of effect damage. Oh, right, this guy here. Yeah, there's Gutworm the Maneater in here. He's level 20 boss. We are level 15. I don't want to die because hardcore. So we're not going to do that. Oh, hello. That's nothing we need. That is actually kind of neat. A lot of extra acid damage on that. Exceptions, reducing enemy resistance worth capping 4. Yeah. Usually usually you think of it as your main attack, and maybe things that directly and massively boost the damage of your main attack are often the things worth like going over. But that's like late game optimization. But what I'll sometimes do, like if I get some gear, like if I found some more gear right now that gave me more ranks in Flame Touched, I might consider respecing to pull a few points out of Flame Touched to bring it back to the soft cap. I don't have to go through there right now, just because I want the points somewhere else. Feel very strongly that we did miss Negan. I think he's in a previous zone. This is a little annoying to me. Yeah. I think so, eh? Last Epoch Shaman getting some skill reworks. Nice. I think the Sorcerer class in Last Epoch really needs a redo. It wasn't necessarily top notch, and like the chatter on the like the Reddit and stuff is basically that like, yeah, the Rune Master kind of does everything better. But, you know, they haven't seen a change in a while. I think Megan is the one in White Mire, bottom right in the damage building. I mean, I think all of those have like 3 different spawn spots, so they're finally fairly close. Jesus Christ. Is that all lightning? Or is it like lightning frost? Either way, my resistances are definitely not anywhere near the cap right now. I mean, it's too early for that anyway. All right. Well, let me get the Burwitch waypoint, and then we'll backtrack. Well, we'll go back to the Whitemire waypoint. We do want to come over here because then we get to find this guy, Ulgrim. He's some sort of chef. I'm sure he's not relevant to any kind of story or whatsoever. But we're going to invite him to our camp because it's a nice thing to do. You do get bonus XP when you're playing on veteran difficulty, but because the killing is slower, your actual leveling rate is actually slower. Oh my god, a Marrow Band. So last time we did some of this on Twitch, we were playing a Necromancer Summoner, and I was like, man, oh man, I would kill for a frickin' Marrow Band. Of course we get one here. +2 to summon Briarthorn, +2 to summon Skeletons, big boost to your pet's damage and stats and everything like that. Just wonderful. Mm-hmm. Oh, hang on. Was that a lore book in there? It is. Yeah, I may as well pick that up. Right, we're gonna have to come back right over here to kill some extra dudes. Oh wait, I can kill them now. That's right. Like in Diablo 2, and many action RPGs, Path of Exile as well. You don't have to pick up quests to do them. You can like do the objectives kind of out of order. So after I kill... Oh my god. What was healing you? After I kill Negan, I'm going to get a quest to come over here and kill a couple of dudes. We can kill them now. Health. This game has a great out-of-combat healing system as well, which is just wonderful. So you have technically it's like a stat called Constitution, and you can get bonuses to it and stuff like that. But it's this yellow bar on my health over here. When I've been out of combat for a few seconds, I don't know how long it takes. It heals me based on that. So you don't have to worry about like consuming potions and stuff out of combat. The reason I like Grim Dawn is they're really good about having found ways to reduce tedium. This guy is leashing back to his spawn spot because we went a little too far, and that was very convenient. Probably don't have to drag Hagra here too much further for that either, but... Mm-hmm. Windborn Greaves. Gauntlets. Mutiny. Oh, man. Oh, hang on. We do have Molten Walkers. Oh, shit. That's fantastic. That's really good. So more armor, fire damage, movement speed, which we love, some fire resistance, which I need right now, and +2 to Blackwater Cocktail. Also, when I get hit, it'll trigger Flame Patch. All right, so we definitely throw those on. Plus, it looks really cool. Look at me. How's the multiplayer in this game? Sadly, not bad. I mean, I think the multiplayer works fantastically well in this game. I don't... so it is like someone has to host a game, and then it shows up in the lobby list. Like, it's not... You're not getting dynamically paired with people or anything like that. I've never grouped with strangers or anything, but I have played this extensively with friends and enjoyed it greatly. Hang on. Okay, back there. Now, the maps are made by hand. There is some randomness in it because there are random blockers and things like that. Like we saw one right over here. This little rock here and that rock here. Those are random. They might have been placed here or there or whatever. So even though the actual map, you kind of like the layout is what it is, you don't know what path you'll necessarily be able to take to navigate it. There you go. So now we finally reached Burwich Village. We have a specific quest to secure this waypoint here, which is great. Why aren't you taking any damage? Are they just so freaking fire resistant? Are Ember Guards completely immune to fire damage? Oh my god. Huh. BRB. I'm just going to throw a different gun on here. Oh, see, here the blacksmith. He's here. Great. And now we can craft. So we've got these relics, which go in these slots we can craft. We can craft weapons, armor. Big thing is a lot of these accessories that you can build. Very, 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 very valuable. It's certainly nowhere near the crafting system of Path of Exile. Like, come on. But it's still, like, fine. What I want to do is grab my mouse over here. It'll highlight the things I can put on. I just want a different ability. No, I don't want the Void Guard. Oh, down here. I'm like, where are all my weapon items? So let me put Chilled Steel on here. And then we'll use Ice Spike to clear those guys. Oh, thank you. Finnegan, you want to go back to Foggy Rift Bank and head southeast. Thanks. Hey, we're friendly with Devil's Crossing, which means I can come up here and get a quest from Constance. Oops. Misclick. What do you need? Yep, I'll get the fabric. She wants fabric to make this place a little cozier and homier. Sounds great. So let me go and attempt again to secure that that waypoint in Burwich. Eat ice. I mean, we're not getting much. Wow, this pierces. Oh, never use this. Like we're not really getting anything that's really boosting our ice damage. Although from the Arcanist tree, we are getting a boost to elemental damage in general. But there we go. All right, and then we should get the second wave of this. There you go. More Ember Guards too. Oh, you designed a Blackwater cocktail for me. Yes, I want to know the recipe. Absolutely. Just going to focus target down the Ember Guard specifically here. Then I can switch back to my other gun. And or the rest of it's just going to die to the cocktails. Okay. So we have ourselves a new piece of gear that we could potentially use. The soiled trousers. The previous owner seems to have left a little surprise in the seat of the trousers. This gives you a variety of stats, and it grants you a new skill you can use. Throw feces. Reach into the seat of your pants, pull out something that is certain to alarm your enemies. It does a lot of poison damage. So we could put those on a levels 20 and use them as our leveling tool if we wanted. Anyway, let's go and switch our guns again, so we can go back to pure fire damage. So, Foggy Bankrith, head southeast, huh? And what I like about this game is, so this one here, this is specifically the level 20 version of the Soiled Trousers. There are two other versions that are higher levels. Because a lot of times, and I gotta admit, the best solution to this is definitely Last Epoch, with its legendary potential. But one thing that happens, you'll find these cool, there's Negan. You'll find these cool items, these cool uniques in the game, but you know, they're only good early on, and then you sort of put them aside. Here, by having multiple versions of these uniques, so a lot of these uniques have maybe 3 versions of them at different level ranges, so you can end up using the same type of elite for an extended period of time, which is great. So we'll go back to Devil's Crossing. We'll tell a buddy here. Who is this? Harmond that we kill those 3 guys. And then he'll ask me to kill more guys, which I've already killed them. So there we go. Done and done. Many quest rewards. Lovely. Normal, empowered, mythical. There you go. There's also, as far as I know, there's no actual mechanical difference between an epic item and a legendary item. I use the term unique to refer to all of them conclusively. Epics are these blue items. Legendaries are purple, but they're all the same. They are things with fixed stats on them. Sometimes with a range, like Mutiny here with a plus 22% acid damage. For all I know, it's like it can be anywhere from 10% to 30% or something like that. And we just rolled that, but it'll always have acid damage on it. And usually these things will also have something funky about them. At the very least, the Mutiny here has this thing where it converts some of your physical damage to acid damage. So yeah, most of these uniques will have something special. Like these Molten Walkers here had the +2 Blackwater Cocktail and added this Flame Patch skill, which isn't a skill I have to use manually. Lots of the epic and legendary items are pretty easy to farm. Are they though? Because they're like, for the vast majority of them, they are just random world drops, right? Like hitting totems will guarantee that you get epics and legendaries, but farming a particular one isn't generally very easy. With the exception, I will say here, one of the reasons the Death Knight build, which is Necromancer Soldier, is so great, is that it does have a set, an entire 4-piece legendary set that drops from some specific characters and is very farmable, and that is kind of nice. Oh, you posted the recipe in the chat. Let me see here. Kiss him. There we go. Okay. Blackwater Cocktail recipe. 1/2 ounce allspice dram, or 1/4 ounce Clase Azul Durango Mezcal, 1 ounce Kraken Black Spice rum, 3/4 fluid ounce rich syrup, 3.5 ounces pineapple juice. Yeah, baby. Half a bar spoon of squid ink. Oh, to color it. Shake with ice, pour over fine ice. Tiki style drink. There's a lot of booze in there. There's a lot of booze in there. Well, no, I guess it's about 2 ounces of liquor. Okay, so now it's a standard cocktail amount. Huh, that's awesome. I remembered the 3.5 ounces, and I thought that was going to be more alcohol. There's a little cave over here. I don't think it's got anything we need. This is the waterfront. This is the area where we can find some fabric. For Constance, who wants to make the base. Oh, Jesus! Nearly died there. Who wants to make the base a little prettier. And again, if you didn't pick up the quest beforehand because you might not have had quite enough rep last time you were in town, that's okay. You can still come here. It's a little harder to see because you won't have star markers, but these subtly glowing chests, they can spawn in a few different areas. So sometimes, if you don't have the quest, it can be a little tricky to collect all 3 blind, which can be a little annoying. So it's much better to have enough rep to get the quest at a convenient time. You do have to like rescue the Luther and Ulgrim, I think, is like the most convenient way to have enough rep early enough to be convenient. And rep does matter in the game. There's a lot of different factions. If I pull up the faction window, oh right, we don't know any factions. We've met Devil's Crossing and the Rovers, which are friendly, and we've met 3 hostile factions. These are interesting because you actually generate negative rep with these, and the lower your rep gets with them, it does unlock some extra hard fights and challenges, which is pretty excellent, actually. You don't really have to target farm the enemies. And actually, a lot of the reps in game will just kind of happen organically. There are like bounty tables in town that you can use to like get more rep faster once you get to a certain level, but very rarely do I feel I have to do that, especially for most of the baseline reps. There's still a star after that over there. Oh, there we go. That would have been annoying. Go back to town with only 2 of 3 fabrics. Ugh. Yeah, can I ally with the ethereals? Alright, let's do another totem here. Oh, I do. Oh, jeez, the damage. We have some more skill points. Okay. Is there something I can spec to defensively right now? I mean, the biggest thing is just making sure that I've got fudging hell, Quill, that I've got as many resistances as possible. You don't ever want to go anywhere close to death. I mean, in general, you don't want that, but you especially don't want it on hardcore here. My God. Willicus. So we will have to go and look at some of the items and see if we've got any resistance. I mean, we're not going to be capped on resistance at this stage in the game. Let me put a bunch of points in physique here, which is going to give us some more defensive ability, which is kind of low potentially. We get a little bit more dodging and things. It might be worth putting these pants on. We'd lose some poison and acid and bleeding, but gain a bunch of elemental resist. I don't know. I'm the only one who really struggles having high rep Devil Crossing. All the other factions are reviewing me. I can't max. Oh, I mean, maybe. So each faction has like enemies that as long as you're killing those enemies, you get some passive rep. And maybe they just don't have anything that's quite as common later on. So you might have to do some bounty table shit with them. So just Fear of Protection just gives me constant damage absorption. Should I maybe move towards this and like look to invest some points there early? I don't want like probably lots of inner focus. Just putting 1 point in things is often kind of nice, even though I said not to spread out, because you'll get gear that gives you +1 to everything of a class at some point. Fortunately, when big faction enemies for Devil Crossing, the band is up north, which obviously only span in the one area. This doesn't debuff the enemies when they hit me, which is too bad. I mean, push comes to shove, just level up your mastery, which does give you a bunch of health. We'll put a point into temper over here. And we'll put a point into Demon Fire. I don't think I'm going to put a bunch into Demon Fire, because it's mostly adding a bunch of chaos, which isn't really what we're doing. But I'll put one in there just in case we happen to get gear that gives us a +1. But I don't think that's going to be our vibe. Oh yeah, the Vindictive Flame having a knockdown. That's true. There, I was wondering about doing a build based entirely on Vindictive Flame here, right? Because it activates constantly when you get hit. It's got a cooldown normally, but you can get a bunch of gear that removes this cooldown, so that basically every time you get hit, it'll do huge amounts of backlash damage, which is kind of interesting and fun. All right, so we'll do this shrine. Nowhere near as difficult as a totem. Put our devotion point into turtle here for health and defense, which we definitely need. Favorite beginner build is basically leveling as Inquisitor. Word of Pain wipes out your enemies. You know, I've never leveled with Word of Pain. So this is the apprentice of the guy in town. We just rescued him. That's Roth's apprentice. We can pop back out of here. So now we have 3 quests to turn in town. All I'm going to do is push forward over here to access the Warden's Cellar. There's going to be a waypoint there. We'll go into town, turn things in. Check our items to see if there's anything we can do to level up a little bit. And there's like extra lore books that might be getting carried by some of these guys. And I've missed a bunch. Which, if you want the story, you kind of want to find all those lore books. Although I suppose you could read all the lore books text on the wiki. And it'll actually tell you the story of what's going on. Like who Warden Creed is, why he's someone we're going to have to kick his ass for soon. Basically, he was possessed by an ethereal, like, fairly early on and was doing experimentation on prisoners and things like that. All right, so let's pop back to Devil's Crossing, turn in some quests. So, yep, your apprentice is back. There you go. You're welcome. So the apprentice can do great things for you. You can go, if you've got a component in the item, you can either get the item back or the component back. Dismantle and transmute will be unlocked later. So, useful little utility person. Now, we found a book. Dureni's been in town the entire time. We just found a book that implicates him as being part of a cult. So you can kill him, but it's actually slightly better for a couple of different reasons, both lore and some rewards. That if you like, okay, he says, he kind of defends himself, like, no, I wasn't really in it, I want to leave, and all these things, and tell you what, I'll give you this key for this place with loot, and everything like that. You can get the key in other ways. But from a story point of view, it actually works out quite nicely, leaving them alive, because then you get to kill them later. All right, we got the fabric, and look at that! We got some little coverings for things. Things are looking nicer all of a sudden. Huzzah. All right, we're going to dump this. We're going to try to go as quick as possible here to kind of evaluate a little bit of a loot. If anything's too high level, I'll just sell it as... Oh, any epics I'm not using? I do use a program called Item Assistant that lets me offload items to like an external database, which I use to just because I need to catch them all for my epics. I want one of everything. I probably already have these, so it's probably not worth banking. Is there not a... There we go, shift click. The interface for like moving something to your stash is slightly different from moving something to a vendor, which is a little annoying. Do I want Berserker's Cowl? No, I don't. I don't want Marrow Band. Night Hunter's Chest Guard isn't for me either. The Soil Trousers would be funny. Mutiny will keep as a note down there in case we need something that can do fire damage. Heretic's Tome, we're not going to do that either. Okay, so that's all that stuff. Loot Monkey God strong me, yeah.
Come see what's left.
One thing I gotta say with Path of Exile, with their stash tabs, like the unique stash tab is a great way to do the I've got to catch them all for uniques. Not gonna be those. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be replacing the boots anytime soon. I do need a new chest piece. This one's not particularly notable. That's too high level. I think we put this hat on because it's got more resistances. We lose some elemental damage, but on the plus side, we gain offensive ability. This is really nice and defensive. Yeah, and it's got more armor as well, so we're going to do that. Sell this one. There's a buyback tab if you've made a mistake. Right over here. This would add flat acid damage to things, which, I mean, we're not really focusing on acid, but it's interesting. Aether and Chaos. No, I don't think right now. No. Oh, we had another blue amulet. Oh! Fire damage. Oh, my current amulet doesn't have any resistance on it. Got the health boost, but that's it. So yeah, no, we'll throw that in. That's going to be fine. This would win us resistances and give us a bunch of health. Okay. He's just got to buckle down and do a dedicated pet field. They are great. They are so much fun. So for our boots, we're going to want Mark of the Traveler. Oh, you need to be level 20 for the Mark of the Traveler. So later on for your boots, you're going to want Mark of the Traveler because of the movement speed, which is excellent. For now, I'll probably just end up throwing like either flat armor or flat health. Let's do the health. That's going to be fine. For the helmet, actually, I might go anti-venom salve here. My poison and acid resistance isn't bad, but you know what? We can use a little bit of it. With the boss, I think he does vitality or aether damage. It might be nice to get some of that. So, yeah, Corpse Dust is a pretty solid little thing, especially early on. It's got the health and the regen, and then vitality resistance, which is great. I don't think we've got anything on our pants yet. I mean, really what we need is we need more armor absorption. So if we look over the armor rating over here, There is positional hit damage, so when you get hit, it does roll for location and uses the armor rating there. So the chest is actually the most likely place to hit, and it's the place with our lowest armor rating, which is bad. But then there's also armor absorption, which is important. And that's how much of it can be done. So one of the things you do want to do kind of long term is try to get your absorption to 100%. And one way to do that is with things like ancient armor plates. We may as well throw this on to our pants over here. And I think everything's got a component. Belt's not actually hit location, so if you add an armor component to your belt, it actually adds armor over your entire body, which is very useful. But, all right, that'll be done. When selling stuff, you can type fire dam in the search bar. Look, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, you're right. If I do this, as I sell things, it'll highlight things that have fire damage listed on. That's a really fun way to do things. Good hint. Good tip. Okay, so we got the strange key from Nareni, but we're not going to worry about that right now. We're just going to go back up to the Warden Cellar. We will finish Act 1 by killing the Warden. Setting everything on fire. Now, these dungeon stuff have, like, a bunch of them will have secrets. I mean, there's tons of secrets on the world map as well. It's one of the things I really like about this game. Like, I like that there's secrets, there's more lore. There's reasons to sort of backtrack to some of these areas. I wonder, do we just put a bunch into this for the defensive knockdown? I don't know, leave it for one for now. I think we're gonna probably push towards agonizing flames. I guess the other thing I can do, we've got which one is it? I guess stun jacks. I think there's another one. There's like a couple of defensive abilities you can use to try to like crowd control or otherwise delay people. So now you see little lightnings that come off of me now from time to time when I get hit. Oh, this is not my first time playing Grim Dawn. Oh, it's a dead end. Or is it? Haha. It's my favorite ARPG. I still have more in Path of Exile, but it's closing in. I still haven't beaten the entire game on Ultimate as a hardcore difficulty character, so that would be nice to do. Maybe this will be the guy. I'll let you know, or I'll post a death notice on Discord whenever he dies. The game actually does have really good music and stuff. You're not hearing it very often because I've got the volume set fairly low. Because usually I'm like watching YouTube or Netflix or something while I'm playing these games. Because they don't take that much focus. A little bit more on hardcore. And maybe that's the reason I lost my hardcore characters, because I wasn't focusing enough. We're now despised by the ethereals. So I believe at despised, the packs of ethereal that spawn will be bigger. Which is, yes, more dangerous, but also good for like more concentrated XP and killing. Like as you play more and you get more of these things to like despise and so on, you get more, you get increased pack density. And so either the first level or the second level that increases pack density, and the other one generates more of the hero units, the ones with the stars. And then the final level gives you a chance to spawn nemesis, like big name dudes of that who have some special drops and things like that. Let me tell you, this was my first time playing. I don't think I would have started on hardcore, and certainly not veteran. Actually, my first time playing, I might have started on veteran, because I was like, I don't know, it's tougher, and ooh, it gives you more XP, except again, it doesn't actually give you more. It gives you more XP per kill, but killings take longer, so you don't actually level up faster. I didn't need to come here, that's a dead end. Nemesis fights are tough, yeah. Chase you down nearly wherever you go. Oh, really? I didn't realize they chase you, because I'm not usually running away too much. Now, to be fair, a lot of my highest level characters have all been pet builds. So Where the frack am I going here? Down this way. Or no, up that way. Oh my god. I've completely come to an area I don't have to be. Well, bonus XP. Oh, there was a totem that sort of drew me in. That's what it was. If you always play on the hard difficulty becomes the new normal, yeah. The game definitely ramps up, like, after you complete normal difficulty, whether you're playing on normal, or veteran normal, and then you go into elite and then ultimate, the difficulty does definitely ramp up. Things are substantially tougher. Jesus. Things are substantially tougher. Your resistances also get stripped away, so you do have to, like, keep on top of that a lot. You know, your resistances can be completely maxed at the end of normal, but when you go to elite, is it minus 25, minus 50%? I don't remember. We actually haven't, no pun intended, playing with fire on this run and come close to death way too many times in a way that is not how you... When you're playing a hardcore character, you should never come close to death. Because every time you come close to death, there's always a slight chance that you will just die, right? Something will just hit you a second time or slightly harder. And so statistically, if this keeps happening, eventually you will just die. Leech minus 25, ultimate is minus 50. It's not to all resist, right? It's just the top line ones. Like, here's my resist page. So at the top is like the 3 elemental ones, poison and acid, and then piercing. I don't know if these also get the minuses. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't remember. There's also some other resistances that aren't quite as obvious. They're hidden a little further down. Here. No, that's pet bonuses. They're defenses. There's some other things like slow resist, sleep resist that are not listed in the same place on the page. Now, you will get a crap ton more resistances as you level, both because of the higher gear and components and stuff, but you get a lot of resistances from your devotion tree. And actually, on the higher difficulties, you even want to be overcapped, because normally the resistance cap it's 75% in this game, right? Or is it 85% in this one? I'm confused between Poe and Last Epoch and this. I get confuzzled. Whatever the cap is. But some boss fights, the bosses can strip some resistances, so you actually want to be above the cap. Now, this is mostly a concept for, like, the end game. 80% cap in this game? There you go. You can also have some gear and things like that that gives you slightly higher than maximum, which tends to be very powerful. Because the higher your resistance gets, the more valuable every additional point is. Because when if you got 80% resistance and you add another 1% resistance on it, that's actually reducing the damage you're taking at that point by 5%. Right? Because at that point you're taking 20% of the raw damage, then you're reducing it from 20% to 19%, which is a 5% savings for a 1% extra. I'm gonna ignore that totem. It's not gonna be that important right now. Okay, can we just, thank you. Even when you get your left click to move only, by default it will still interact with like furnishers and stuff like that. Which ARPGs are gonna compare? So we did Last Epoch for a couple of days, partially as a warm up for the game to get ready for 1.0, which drops next week. And I hadn't played Rune Master yet, so it was a good opportunity to learn it before 1.0 drops and decide if that's what I want to play in the league. One of the possibilities for today was to do some Path of Exile, but we did a vote on the Discord, and people did vote slightly more in favor of Grim Dawn, which I'm happy with because I really enjoy the early game of Grim Dawn a lot more than Path of Exile. Path of Exile has the greatest late game, the greatest end game, like crafting, all that sort of stuff, like infinite build variation. Like, it does a lot of things really well. But the early game leveling experience, especially if you've done it before, like if you've done it a million times, is like, all right, when can I get the mapping or whatever? Oh, Jesus. Quill, oh my God, you've got to toughen up, dude. I'm happy I'm investing in my mastery because it is giving me a lot of raw hit points. Last Epoch didn't go. Oh, no, Last Epoch was great, but 1.0 drops next week, so there's only so much I want to invest in our quote unquote practice character. It was on the list today, actually, nearly won. Actually, yeah. Hold on, I was thinking the poll was neck and neck between Grim Dawn and Path of Exile. That's not true. Path of Exile got almost no votes. It was neck and neck between Grim Dawn and playing more Last Epoch, where we've had a really fun Rune Master character. We could have even like started someone else today just to mix it up. Yeah, 1.0 next week. It's been out in early access for a while. Another devotion point. So that Guardsman's Spalders here, this is part of a set. You can see here it's a 5-piece set. At the bottom you can see all the bonuses. Generally speaking, these low-level sets, you're not going to have the entire set on your runs your first time. This is more of a, well, you bank it over time, and at some point you might have enough that when you start a new character, you can use this set. Because in practice, you'll have out-leveled it by the time you get any more. We'll put another point in Turtle. More health, more defensive ability, reduced physique requirement for shields, which I don't really care about. Well, maybe. We might end up using shields. I know for leveling, we're definitely going to use the codex from the guy whose name starts with Z. I want to say like Zeruthian or something like that. I don't remember what his name is. But he's a guy who guards the entrance to a dungeon. Like, it's in a dungeon and guards the entrance to a skeletal key dungeon, which are these sort of rogue-like dungeons that you use one key to start it, and if you die in it, you respawn in town, and that's it. You've got to, like, restart the entire instance again to try the dungeon again. Of course, playing in survival mode like this, all dungeons are permadeath, so it doesn't really matter. We don't actually have to go into the actual key dungeon. It's just at the doorway of the dungeon. There's a dude we can kill, and he can drop 2 different offhand items that are books. Can't remember what they're both called. One's called the Codex, the other one's called a something else that's kind of like a book. And one of those 2 gives a really big boost to the Blackwater cocktail. So certainly while leveling, we'll be using this, and potentially, I mean, I don't even know. It might even be like a best in slot kind of item. That's an item called a monster infrequent. So if we look at a piece of gear over here, so this item here, this is an iron repeater. That's the base item, is an iron repeater. It is the prefix of Wraithbound and the suffix of Celerity. You can also get monster infrequents, which the base item itself has some funky cool shit going on it. An example of it sort of is Kaizog's Skull over here. This didn't drop, I may have dropped from a monster, I don't know. This has got Stalwart and of Scorching. So those are giving some extra stuff. The Stalwart, I don't know what it gives us. Maybe it's giving us defensive ability. And of Scorching is clearly increasing fire damage. But the Kaizog Stall itself as a base has all this shit with Kalidor's Tempest and things built into it. So monster infrequents drop from certain types of monsters and or bosses. And they're not that infrequent, despite the name. Maybe the infrequent part is that they only drop from certain types of monsters, but if you know which monsters it is, which zone or which boss, they're very easy to farm with. Although getting one with the exact right prefix and suffix for your build is a whole other thing, right? So this guy, anyway, that we can go kill, his drops his book that innately gives a big boost to Blackwater Cocktail, which is good. And there's you can farm it at multiple different levels. So, you know, we do it the first time, get a low level version. At some point we'll go kill him again for a higher level version or on a higher difficulty or things like that. You know, we may go through a few. And it's possible that even, you know, in the extended end game, it might still be our best in slot for an offhand, just the best rank one. And then what we'd be doing is trying to farm for the exact right prefix and suffix. We'd want, probably for us, I suspect, we'd want a prefix and suffix that both say adds to fire damage. So we'd farm this guy a bunch for the perfect double rare monster infrequent. Okay, I'm having a hard time clicking on. There we go. Yeah, so many builds are centralized around monster infrequents. Yeah. So some of them, I think, especially like a lot of times the most extreme end game builds, most of the items might be specific legendaries or like a set, right? There's like a 4-piece set. You want the 4-piece set because the 4-piece bonus of the set gives you something that is transformative of your build. And that's what you'll see a lot with. And the same thing happens in Lost Epoch. The same thing happens in Path of Exile. Unique items aren't better. They tend to just do something quirky that enables a certain build. But in general, in a lot of these games, the strongest items tend to be like just rare items with the right stats on them. So other than getting the right uniques, which in this game are called epics and legendaries for various things and may or may not be part of a set, other than getting the right ones to enable a specific mechanic, a lot of times it's like, yeah, you're just looking for these sweet, sweet rares with exactly the right stats. And almost exclusively monster infrequents. Rarely will the ideal piece of gear be like, all right, there's no unique and there's no monster infrequent, which sometimes I call a monster intrinsic. There's no MIs and no uniques that are good in the slot for your build. So just pick any random rare that happens to, give you increased fire damage. That basically never happens because there's so many monster infrequents and so many uniques in the game. There's always something that's cool. Oh, the MI you're using now turns Kalidor's Tempest into a purely fire skill, which suits you well, for example. Oh, is that what it does? I was just using it because of the of Scorching. Because normally it does some Aether and Lightning. So this is converting all their Aether and all their Lightning into fire damage. And a lot of times the builds you will see, at least one of the pieces of the gear that you're having is about converting elements. Because it's very rare, I talked about before early on, that one of the things with the two classes, indeed you do have two classes in your character, often one of the things you're looking for in there is some skill that reduces the resistance that enemies might have to a specific element. And ideally, you'd like to have as many of your skills as possible all focused on one element so that you can maximize, gear for that, right? Like if we focus on fire exclusively, then we can just make sure we keep taking gear that increases our fire damage. Where if we had a really good skill with fire and another really good one with lightning, might make it a little harder to itemize around it. But if we could somehow turn that lightning skill into a fire skill, then it's great. Then we're back to just having to worry about one stat. I mean, you're also looking for casting speed and offensive ability and all these other things too, obviously, but it makes the itemization much more clean. It also works better if we're really good at stripping away fire resistance that an enemy might have, then obviously we'd like to have all our damage be fire or something like that. So a lot of these builds will be like, okay, so this is a build based on these two classes and this specific ability. Now here's 5 different versions of it based on picking different elements and having huge implications for secondary effects and gameplay style and this and that. So even if you have two characters that are the exact same two classes, and both characters are using the exact same main skill, they can still feel wildly different. And that's not unique to this game. Again, Path of Exile is a great example of like a million build variations, but it's a sign that you've got a game with great like build diversity, mechanics, and things like that, where you can end up in that situation. Exact same character classes, exact same skills, still feel wildly different. Sorry, spiders. I like you in real life, but in this game, you gotta die. Yeah, the Scorching adds fire damage. The MI converts the other thing. Yeah. So this thing here, again, you can probably specify what the Stalwart part is because I'm not sure what that is. The of Scorching is just probably adding the % fire damage, and that's probably about it. Everything else you're seeing on Stalwart might be adding the poison and acid resistance. Everything else you're seeing on this, the skill cooldown, the bonuses to Kalidor's Tempest, the Flame Touch, and then the other bonuses to Kalidor's Tempest at the bottom, all that is the baseline Kazakh Skull. So the Tempest must be an Arcanist thing, because otherwise it'd be grayed out. Oh, yeah, right here. So this ability over here, it says fire damage and fire damage twice on this, but that's because of the conversion of that item. If I were to go and remove this item and then mouse over this, we can see it does fire and Aether. Also lightning, but I'm assuming... Ah, there you go. So if you also add Inferno on here, then it adds burn and lightning damage, but then this would just convert all the lightning and all the Aether to just more fire damage. How does the Tempest feel like? Should we try it? We'd have to put a bunch of points in the Arcanist just to be able to unlock it. Nah, I'll just keep going down here. I should put a point in Mortar Trap just to show you, because it's a lot of fun. So you put this thing down, and it just auto-fires, but in like a fairly large area. Like, I'm not doing anything right now. I'm just letting the mortar auto-fire. That's just 1 point, so obviously it's not doing a tremendous amount of damage. But in a lot of areas, and you can only have one down at a time, a lot of times it'll be like shooting things you might not even see off screen, down a cliff. One thing to note with our item here, because both the prefix and the suffix, they're just yellow, which is like the magic rarity. The magic things tends to just be like a one-liner boost, or maybe two things that are similar. Whereas if you get something that's got a green prefix or suffix, like these pants, the of Nature's Bounty. I don't know what the of Nature's Bounty is adding because I don't have all these things memorized, but it's probably several line items. The Mystic, which is the prefix on here, is probably, I'm betting it's the plus 3% spirit. And like everything else on here might be Nature's Bounty or something similar to that. Mortar combat. Well, we could be like, you know what? This cocktail stuff is stupid. Let's go and respec, pull everything out of that, and just have this auto-firing mortar trap for us. Yeah, we could do that. And that's what'll happen sometimes, right? Obviously, like early on, you got to pick whatever ability you can get super early in the game. But then once you get enough points in your mastery to unlock some higher ability, sometimes what you're like, okay, let me do a big respec now to put all the points over there. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. Mortar Trap and Shaman Storm Toad are my favorite AFK builds. Yeah. I mean, I'm keen on AFK builds in general. I like pet builds in any ARPG. Part of it is because it doesn't also give me a lot of arm strain or anything like that. You know, too much clicking can be too bad. And I don't tend to like playing piano builds where you have to, like, you know, hit 4 or 5 different abilities in sequence. Or like repeatedly for the cooldowns. I gotta admit, because Grim Dawn is offline, and like it's innately offline. Yeah, like even in the multiplayer, it's not really like, you know, there's no centralized server or anything like that. The game has, like, they don't give a crap if you're using like auto hotkey, right? That's not something you can get banned for. There's no such concept in there. So I have used auto hotkey to like keep buffs up. Like if I'm playing, I can't remember what the abilities are. But like the occultist ability, that's the big AoE heal, or even the pneumatic burst one from the Nightblade, that's like, it's on a cooldown. It's like an 8-second cooldown, but while it's up, you're regenerating. So you clearly, every time that 8 seconds is up, you want to push the button with no thought whatsoever. You want it to always be on. So I just have a hotkey, auto hotkey set up to just mash that button constantly. Because it's my game and it can do what I want. So, we're about to do our boss fight. Normally, I'd be like, let's open a portal in case we die. Obviously, if we die, game over. I guess maybe I'll open a portal anyway. Because he's already open, it'll be easier for me to click on. Oh, thanks for snoozing the ads right now. That's good timing as we're going to a boss fight. Mostly face tanking. What's interesting about Warden Creek here is if you're not in melee range with him, he'll shoot with a crossbow, which tends to do a lot more damage. So face tanking him is actually usually the right solution here.
When I'm done with you,
Need more fire on screen. I just realized there's screen shake on. I should turn that off because some people don't like it, and also doesn't tend to play well with the encoders. All right, phase 1. Music got so much more intense all of a sudden. So he will do more damage now. And those green blobs, I think that's ethereal damage, and I think we only have 10% resistance to that. But it is a little harder to get going. See, there's his crossbow, and it does do wicked amounts of damage. And one of the problems with playing a build like this, puts fire all over the ground, sometimes you can't see if an enemy puts down an effect on the ground, and you don't realize that you're standing in, like, bad fire. Not too bad, though, because his damage is doing less than half my health on these hits. Which means if I F up and take 2 in a row, it still shouldn't kill me. But of course, every time I do take it... I mean, if I can dodge them in general, that would be good. And anytime I do take a hit, I will go into a defensive thing to move away and try to heal. That didn't even hit that hard, although it did slow me down dramatically, which I did not appreciate. Oop. That's a fair damage boost. And see, we're not having to worry about a mana regen because the ectoplasm's over here. And generally, like, mana regen isn't something you usually end up having to worry about on your build. Usually, you're going to plan for some of it at some point. Hopefully, you get a little bit of energy regen on your gear or through your devotions. You're having to rely on ectoplasms. I mean, I guess that's fine, but it's not ideal. Ow, 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 ow. Ooh. Potion was on cooldown, and I'm slowed, and I was below half health. That wasn't a good place to be. There we go. Act 1 done. Flamebreaker. Yeah, it's got more total resistances. Although overcap our fire resistance, or bring it at the cap. And adds... Yeah, I think I'm going to take Flamebreaker. Plus it's a shield, which means it's got block and everything like that. That should help our survivability. That was actually a very lucky drop for us. So again, I think I'm going to bring myself up to a 10 physique total. And then after that, I'm thinking I might just go and put a ton of stuff into Spirit. This, between 10 points in each one of these, it should be enough to equip anything we might run into. We'll keep an eye on our offensive ability. So our chance to hit it could have been higher against the boss here. So we were, missing 6% of our attacks. So we still definitely have room for offensive ability, but I don't know if I'll put more into cunning. So if we just head back to town, we'll get our congratulations. And yeah, I'm skipping most of the lore, but the story is great in this game. Well worth reading the the quests as they come.
The warden's defeat is a great...
Or, listening to the voice stuff.
So you must hide.
And then all those lore books I keep picking up, are super worth reading. You get so much backstory about the world. It's not a game that feeds you its story through cutscenes. I'm just going to take the point out of Mortar.
Clear your mind of regrets. Farewell.
I would really love a Grim Dawn too. But hey, we have a Titan Quest 2 coming out this year. I mean, different devs. But still. It's promising.
Got something you need stashed?
I mean, they're clearly still working on things, because right now, they've got the Grim Dawn expansion coming out this year. That's not helpful to us. I don't think we need the guardsmen. Oh, what would that do for me now? Lots of elemental resist, but again... No. This amulet, Devil's Charm. Rack ton of elemental resist. Although Alzara's Ruby's not bad for us. +1 to all skills in Occultist. Why are we not playing an Occultist? We'd be playing a pet build right now. My god.
Come see what's left of what was.
So, that was an interesting idea that someone suggested. In the buyback tab, type in fire damage. And just sell stuff, and then see what is getting highlighted still. Oops. Of course, I could also, look for specific resistances I might be short on. Because that could be something. Yeah. I mean, most of this will have resistance. It's for pets. These gloves. I don't know. We still want the poison acid and bleeding resistance, so I think we're okay. I might tweak the filter. I actually don't know what weapons we'll be using here. I mean, I think I'll leave them all on. I could do something like this, literally only show me items that have resistances. If they don't have a resistance, I'm not going to want to equip them anyway. May or may not be accurately true. but maybe. Yeah, I never saw that before. We're gonna ignore the emissary here, even though that's absolutely silly. I guess it's 4. I guess it's time to end. I kind of want to do a little more. I don't know. I'm prepared to get a weapon. I don't think this is going to affect the weapon filtering, is it? No, see, it's still there. And this doesn't have any resistance on it. I think this side of things, of the filter, is only really affecting gear. I mean, admittedly, I don't have I have the fire thing checked, but I don't think that's it, because this is ores. The gun's got fire, which is fine, so it'll still show us. I mean, I don't think we're looking for a gun or weapon that doesn't have fire damage on it. But I might want to do something. I might still want to leave these on, even though it's showing me a lot of stuff. Next time we get a loot drop, we'll... Oh, shoot. I gotta put my fire blast on. Again. But now we're not fighting anywhere near as much undead. Very different vibe here in Act 2. Which is dealing heavily with bandits. Because what we've dealt with the big problem that was threatening Devil's Crossing here at Burwich Prison, which has been converted into this village, which is the flow of undead and the warden and all those things. We've dealt with that. Now the problem is they don't have enough food, basically. Well, and they're being plagued by bandits. So that's going to be the big theme of this second one, is seeing what we can do to resolve this bandit situation. We're taking advantage of these terrible times, as well as make sure people have enough food to live. Ultimately leading us to a town called Homestead, where again things will shift a little bit, as we're going to be forced to make a choice between a couple of different factions, pick some sides in a greater conflict. And I always thought they were cowboys. So I could report back to Mornay now. I usually just push on to the next waypoint / quest hub. Oh, here's an interesting thing. Not these guys. Just saw a good clump of things to kill here for some good XP. But yeah, we're gonna do something morally a little bit questionable. So this dude's freaked out that the world has all gone to shit. And he figures, you know, we're all doomed anyway. Why let my family suffer in a terrible way? I'm going to lock them in the house and set them on fire. So great guy. So normally, you know, you want to save them. And generally speaking, the way to do this, I think, is as you go through this conversation, I think if you keep picking the second option, that will lead you to saving the family, which is normally what you probably want to do. Here, I'm going to just pick up some random other things. Oh, I failed to convince him. Oh, damn it. I'm so heartbroken. I can't believe I prevented this guy from setting his house on fire. Well, I may as well set it on fire more. You know, just make sure everyone dies quickly. When he dies, we're going to get an item. Well, that's interesting that didn't... Okay, I guess my loot filter is too aggressive. Interestingly enough, why isn't this one showing... Oh, because it's a one-handed weapon. Hang on. Maybe I want to keep these. There we go. I forgot I was filtering those out. So Skinner's Torch over here has got a built-in boost to fire damage. Chance to burn over time, more burn damage, more burn, more casting speed, and some light radius. This, I believe... So again, it's telling us a negative DPS here because I think we'd be losing the Fire Blast, but give me a moment. If we take a look at our Blackwater Cocktail here, it does 300 to 500 damage, fire damage. If I swap on the Torch, that number stays about the same, actually. I mean, we got really lucky with the Francis's gun. The DPS shown is always main... That's not true. Falsa. The DPS shown here is based on what's on your left click preferentially, and if your left click is moved to, then it's your right click. So this is showing me the change of DPS of my Fire Blast. But if I move my Blackwater Cocktail over there, Now it's telling me I would gain DPS. So this would actually increase the DPS of my Blackwater cocktail. If my left mouse button here was still on weapon attack, now it would be showing me the change of DPS of my melee attacks, which I don't use melee attacks. But again, it's showing you, it'll show you whichever on your left click, unless your left click is moved to, in which case it'll show you right click. And so you can use this as a quick way to compare. So we would gain a little bit of DPS on our Blackwater cocktail, but our Fire Blast would definitely not be the same. Although again, I think here it might be showing us such a huge penalty because what's actually happening is we lose in the Fire Blast. But it looks like the Skinner Torch is not worth getting. If this had been a Skinner's Torch of Scorching, then I bet you it would be a huge upgrade. But, oh well, I guess that guy's family died for nothing. Yeah, you can do some little fiddling. If you do mouse over the DPS, the damage per second rating over here, it will give you the breakdown of your raw weapon attack, your left click attack, and your right click attack on the tooltip over here. In this case, the left click is just moved to, so it says 0. But theoretically, you could have up to 3 things over there, which actually I could show, because I can put my Fire Blast on my left, I could put my cocktail on my right, and then if I mouse over, we get all 3 values. Weapon attack, Fire Blast, cocktail. And again, if I was just mousing over here, it would look at my left click first, which is currently Fire Blast. But I'm going to go back to Move To and Fire Blast, and that's going to be okay. Yeah, component crafting wouldn't be a bad idea. The other thing is we could get ourselves a relic, which actually seems like a decent idea, and maybe that'll be a good way for us to end the stream. Well, let me push to the waypoint. You know, unlocking waypoints in most ARPGs is sort of like your real sense of progression. I mean, the game saves constantly, but to not have to redo things, you usually want to find the next waypoint. This fellow over here says his partner, like, totally killed him for no good reason. Oh, I will totally go and avenge your partner. Or avenge you by killing your partner. Totally what I'm going to do. And you get here, and this guy tells you a very different story about what happened. And you say, sorry, I'm not going to kill you. We're not going to get into the specific story. And if you do kill him anyway, there are ramifications later. Again, none of them are big. Nothing's going to like radically change your game or lock you out of this or that. But there's little stories being told, and they do have little effects and ramifications. If you pay attention to what's going on and what your choices are, and if you try something different next time, you'll see different things. It's funny because it'll keep happening on the Grim Dawn Reddit. Well, someone will come in and be like, "Hey, I'm confused. Like, I just got to area blah, and this person isn't here, or this thing isn't happening. What's the deal?" It's like, well, you made a different decision in this playthrough, and if you do this, that'll happen. Like, oh my god, I had no idea. All right, so there we go. So there's another town over here, but let's pop back to Devil's Crossing, turn in the quest, who will mostly tell me to go and talk to the people over here. And yeah, we can take a look at maybe tweaking our components.
Well, you worked here. We have to hit them hard and fast.
We can do the bounty table here if we want to farm more rep. Because if we look here at the Quartermaster, so right now we're friendly, so we can buy things that are friendly, which is some random potions. If we get up to Respected, we get a lot of new recipes we can unlock, as well as some gear. Honored has got more recipes. It starts getting augments that you put on your weapons, so your weapons can have components and augments. Well, all your gear can have like multiple things on it, which is pretty good. You can also get this Writ, which increases your reputation game, which is nice. And we get all the way over to Revered. There's more recipes, more great stuff. And then these mandates, which you can actually stash and have your other characters get. So once we get to Revered, we're capped. But we can buy this, put it in our bank, so that our future characters will be able to get their reputation up that much faster, which is handy. I don't have any stored here in our hardcore mode, but that's okay. Don't worry that. So if any of my items don't have components, now I could go to the Alchemist's Apprentice and strip off existing components and put others to sort of tune things, but I'm not really going to be worried about that too much. I think it's just the shield that needs something. I think I would like some Aether resistance. So what we're going to do for that is I probably have, yeah, these purified salts over here. There's 2 items. There's purified salts, and there's for chaos, imbued silver. So imbued silver and purified salt are components that go on your weapons or shields, or offhand, so both hands over here. And they give you access to an aura, right? They have some baseline stuff. So the Purified Salt will give us defensive ability, leech life resistance, bonus damage to ethereals. Who cares about that? The big thing it does is it gives you this Aether Ward buff that gives you 20% more Aether resistance, and in fact increases your max. It also affects your pets. Imbued Silver is basically the same, except it does Chaos resistance. We are dramatically low on Aether resistance, so we're going to go ahead and throw that on shield. In fact, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to probably put that on both items, but we're reliant still on the Fire Blast of our Searing Ember here. There is another main hand weapon thing that does more. Flint Core Bolts. These give us the Greater Fire Blast, which does more damage. We should probably get that going on our main hand. We could wait until we find a better weapon, but what the hell? We'll just go and put it on Francis' gun. So we're going to have to strip off the old component and add that instead. I want to keep the item in this case. Thank you. And then we'll put that on a right click. I wasn't comparing the damage before and after. Although the damage per second, I think it was at something like 900. Now it's like 1300 damage per second over here with the Greater Fire Blast. I think it has a larger radius as well. I mean, it's very similar to what we were using. It's going to keep carrying us. Not every build needs to equip items, equip abilities like this. It's just in our current build, we don't have a really good single target thing unless we wanted to just, you know, point and click, probably Fire Strike. So we put Fire Strike and use this. Instead of using our normal weapon auto attack, we'd use our Fire Strike. You can see the Fire Strike does 100% main hand damage. So it does the normal weapon damage plus fire damage. So this is the same as just auto attacking, except it's a better version of auto attack. And unlike Path of Exile, auto attack abilities in this game are fantastic, and in fact, melee is fantastic because of the way it sort of auto target locks, which is really good. Oh, I'm gonna go down this way. Now, what I really should have done is gone to the expansion content to just get an extra movement ability, but oops. So, a little camp over here. They're having trouble with bandits in all kinds of different ways. And there's a bandit blockade going on, so we're going to have to deal with that. So, we got a marker here to go into this mine. We're going to go into this mine and pick up a piece of dynamite. Technically, dynamite is available as a drop from all kinds of different enemies. You can bank it. I probably have a bunch of dynamite currently in my stash. Or we can pretend we don't. So they do give you a quest that leads you to your first piece of dynamite. And dynamite is used for a variety of things on the world map, generally to help you clear content or progress through the game. Or to unlock bonus stuff. Like there's going to be all these like locked chests that you'll find over the course of the game. We took some serious damage there. Sheebus! Okay, hold on. I'm dying. Now, I think that was a lot of his goons. I think I'm still taking damage here. I might have been on fire. I'm hoping that Balthazar himself doesn't do that much. He's still pretty dangerous, though. Yes, kite backwards. I guess Veteran is quite exciting, because we wouldn't be dealing with this at all if we weren't playing on Veterans. So he's about to get back to his leash point, and then he'll start chasing me again here. Luckily, unlike, say, WoW or something like that, his health doesn't regenerate when he does leash. Leash. Can I face tank him a little? He actually might be fine to face tank. I think it was all his buddies that are causing me some issues. I am about to run out of mana. Maybe I need more ectoplasms. Part of it is because this Greater Fire Blast is quite a bit more expensive to use. But obviously worth it. We're also reserving quite a bit of our mana, so you can see like about a third of our mana pool is reserved by our auras and buffs here. Hey, another Flamebreaker! That's interesting. I thought the game was set up that you wouldn't see... Did we exit to the menu since getting the Flamebreaker? No, we didn't. The game is actually set up to not give you duplicates of unique items in the same session. So that's quite curious. Never heard of that? Oh yeah, no, that's totally a thing. So if you're farming for epics, you want to kind of keep your sessions going as long as possible, like when you're doing your totem hunting and different things like that, because it is designed to try to avoid giving you duplicates of something you already have. Maybe it works differently between the totems and the bosses or something, or the Shattered Realm and different things like that. Or maybe people have been wrong all along. People will talk about it all the time. But maybe it's like the Dwarf Fortress thing with the whole noise from workshops and not having bedrooms on the same floor as your workshops. Maybe it's just a myth that gets repeated nonstop. The game is smart enough to not give you blueprints for something that you already have a blueprint for. Oh, for fuck's sake! Whoa! That was close. It's what I get for, like, trying to think of things instead of paying attention. What kind of damage are these guys doing? I wonder if they're doing a lot of piercing damage. Yeah, I saw double-digit AP. No, yeah, that was sheer luck that we didn't die there. That's actually ridiculous. That's actually... There's something wrong with our build going on right now. I gotta assume... that we are getting hit by a lot of range things. People with bows or guns, and they do tend to have piercing, so I'm assuming that might be the issue. We also have a shit chest plate in terms of armor. Perfect. Look at this chest piece. Piercing and vitality resistance, 2 things we really need, and a crap ton more armor. Would have been a great end to the stream. Yeah. But yeah, the blueprints, you won't get a duplicate. I think that can be a really weird edge case where something is dropping 2 blueprints and might randomly happen to drop the same one twice because you haven't actually learned it yet. But otherwise, yeah. So this guy here, even though his quest marker is not yellow, you do progress him when you do that. Okay, we will have to stop soon because my throat, again, is getting a little scratchy. I was hoping to record a little more Victoria and Dwarf Fortress today, which may or may not happen. There will be a Baldur's Gate fairly soon. So here you can turn in this amulet or not. Just clean this up here. If you don't turn it, it actually gives you a relic that goes in this slot, which I think gives you just a bunch of physique, cunning, and spirit. It's really nice the first time to lie and then keep it for yourself. Here, I'll show it to you. So it gave us this bone talisman, 5% more physique, cunning, spirit. It also gives you this mana infusion skill that you can use. So when you're first rolling your first character, or you're playing strictly like solo self-found, you probably won't have another option for a relic. But that's not the case for us. We could have just given the relic away because we're in a great situation and should, in fact, go and craft ourselves one. We'll do that and then we'll end the episode. Oh yeah, and blueprints are learned once for your entire account. It is separated between softcore and hardcore characters, but when you learn a blueprint, it's shared for everyone. So these relics over here, we haven't picked up these relic recipes in this run. This is my hardcore known recipes. So there's empowered relics, then it goes to transcendent, then it goes to mythical, so they get better and better. And if we look at some of these, so if I want to build, let's say Eye of the Storm, what I'd actually need to build first is Desolation and get Focusing Prism and Hellbane's Ammo. So these 2 are just components, but this is another relic. Desolation is a relic here, which in itself needs a baseline relic called Squall, and plus some other components. So you sort of work your way up, plus there's level requirements and costs and things like that. So for us, we'd be looking for, do we have a relic that increases our fire damage? Calamity. Well, it's got 10% increased fire damage, and 5% chance on attack. We don't really attack, so no. Fervor. Lightning damage, percent fire damage, attack speed, chance on attack. Inferno, now that sounds like what we want. Flat fire damage, yes. Damage over time, the burn damage. Percentage fire damage, percentage chaos as well, which technically we do a little bit. It also gives us the Volcanic Fury ability if we want to use it. It lasts for 15 seconds and gives us a huge boost in fire damage. That sounds great. So let's craft that. Oh, I can't equip until I'm level 25. So we'll do that. And then, yeah, for Transcendent, and this has got an even higher requirement, this is level 35, which will use fervor, so we'd have to build the fervor to build this. But more fire, more burn, and then gives you the conflagrate channeled ability. Piercing beam of pure flame. So we need 3 levels before we can go and equip this, but that will be a substantial boost to our power. I'm not talking about... You can get duplicate green items. I'm talking about uniques. I thought that Grim Dawn duplicate uniques... I'm talking about these blue items here. I thought that normally you can't get a drop. Or maybe it's just the pool is so big that you don't normally notice. Maybe that's it. But yeah, obviously the green items and shit, you can get lots of duplicates, which you want because you want to be able to farm those for the correct prefixes and affixes. Yeah. Let me go and, speaking of, let me go and bank these guys. And yeah, we'll wrap up the stream. So I don't need you. You. Maybe we lose a lot of piercing resistance. We gain some chaos, which is nice because it's hard to come by, but it's also not that common a thing. We do gain some armor and some elemental damage. The Astral Mantle might be an upgrade for us. I mean, it's not like a clear upgrade. I think it would be slightly better, potentially.
I'll keep an eye on this.
Yeah, it's some extra dynamite. Here, we could grab that for this character. Although I don't want to carry too much dynamite on this character, because if it dies, then we lose. We lose everything. Balthazar's crest boosts our temper and our flame touched, which we do use. The Dreadlord's ribbon doesn't give us any resistance. Got that nice 3% experience gain, but you know what? We can live without it. Balthazar's crest also has a tons of health and percentage boost to physique and health. Yeah, our survivability is going to go up a lot here. We gained like 220 hit points, plus a little resistance. And flame touched is this. So it's benefiting flame touch. No, that's quite good.
I'm seeing what's left of what wears.
Yeah, the 1.2 patch was a great quality of life patch. It just came out a month or two ago. It was in beta for a long time, so it's hard to remember exactly when it officially came out. But the potion thing, the new change to combat, the whole the sundering mechanic, and then adding in this dodge is actually like quite cool. Grim Dawn still lacks really interesting sort of noteworthy boss fights. That's its big shortage, and its crafting system isn't terribly deep, right? Again, it's no Path of Exile, obviously, but like in terms of the crafting thing. But I really like the game. I really think it's solid. I think there's a lot of build variety. I think there's enough complexity in a lot of the mechanics, but at the same time, it's fairly understandable. The one downside is the item text does get quite long, especially when you start throwing augments on stuff. It gets pretty ridiculous. Like if I go and pop up, so they're making friends. This is my current highest level hardcore character, or at least the ones where I've started with HC as a name, which I've started to do to identify things. So yeah, this is my ritualist, who is a shaman necromancer. I did level with the raised skeletons, but now I don't use the skeletons. Instead, I just get myself some pets. There we go. Oop, did I switch bars here? That's not what I meant to do. So I got a few little pets that run around and kill everything. I cast Bone Harvest, which technically does damage, but the big thing with it is it's linked to some stuff like some celestial stuff to proc things and whatever. Anyway, if I just look at an item, like their text on this is pretty large. Oh, this doesn't even have an augment on it. Right? So there's midway through this tooltip, there's the line purified salt. So everything below that is what the purified salt does for it. Everything above it is just text on the item itself. And it's fairly wordy, and that's without an augment. Same thing here. If I go to a non-hardcore character, if I look at Petra the Petromancer, my level 100, who I've showcased before. Interesting boss fights are after the campaign's ruined. I mean, yes, there are the uber bosses there, but they're still, I don't feel they're that interesting. Okay, so this is a great example, right, of an item with a lot of text. So we've got Rimfrost, Salazar, Sovereign Rebellion of Alacrity. So we've got a big chunk of passive text. Then this also gives me an ability, Call Forth the Harbinger, who's got a bunch of extra text. And then way down at the bottom, you can see my Purified Salt component. And if I scroll, you can scroll the tooltip for this item. There's all the text for the Purified Salt. And then we get to Coven's Wit, which is my augment. That's a lot of text. That's kind of interesting because there's just a lot of shit going on this item. Like, that's cool, but also, goddamn, that's a lot of words. It's a novella, yeah. On the plus side, what I do like about Grim Dawn is things are fairly... I mean, yes, they're verbose, but they're usually fairly clear and explicit. One of the things with Path of Exile is I often find myself having to reference the wiki often to maybe get the full details of what a particular effect does. You know, it'll be like, oh, this has a 20% chance to cast Consecrated Ground or something. And then it won't tell you what that is. Like, hold on, I got to go and look. So it means the tooltips are a little bit shorter, but not always the most informative all the time. Think of Last Epoch. So I have incredibly high hopes for Last Epoch. I love its class design with the individual skill trees, right? So there's effectively 15 different classes, sort of. It's sort of 5 main classes, then each one can specialize 3 different ways. So it sort of means there's 15 different classes, but there's some overlap. Like all the 3 mages, like mage variants, all share certain common roots of the mage. And then on top of that, you pick 5 skills that you're going to specialize in, which can dramatically change the way they work, with all skills having their own individual skill trees, as in addition to the character having the passive skill tree. I think that's cool. What we need out of 1.0 and subsequent patches is constantly more and more uniques that generate more build variety, because that's where we're going to get it from. There's decent build variety in it right now, but not a tremendous amount. And currently the end game is a little bit... It exists. There is an end game with repeatable stuff. There's this monolith system that is conceptually, let's say, somewhat similar to the Path of Exile's mapping system, just sort of in a kind of a bit of a vibe. It's not ultra deep currently, and they're with the 1.0 release, they're not changing the monolith system yet. They do have plans for it going forward. So the big thing with Last Epoch is, what is the sort of extended end game going to feel like for, you know, hardcore, crunchy, long-term characters? I love the way the loot filter works in it. I love the way the crafting works in it so much. I think it's wonderful. And a lot of the classes are really cool. There's currently some bugginess and jankiness in the gameplay. I was kind of disappointed by the fact that version 0.9 that introduced the multiplayer never got certain issues and bugs resolved, and there are certain percentage issues with performance issues in multiplayer that never got resolved. And that feels bad. Hopefully 1.0, which drops next week, hopefully it went through a big QA pass. Hopefully it comes out, it's fairly bug free. I mean, we can expect some bugs on a 1.0 release that will hopefully get hot fixed. But I'm hoping for better performance in terms of loading maps, especially in multiplayer, which right now are apocalyptically slow. More bug fixes, and going forward, the big thing is going to be how much build variety is there. Because for me, it's going to be, how many alts do I want to make? I'm hoping I want, like, you can see how many characters I had in Grim Dawn. And Path of Exile, I'm full. Like, unless I buy more character slots, I literally can't make more characters in Path of Exile because I've got so many of them, because it's been a lot of fun to do that. Hopefully the same thing happens there. Right now, we don't know. I think Last Epoch is very well positioned to be extremely accessible to newer players who are less familiar with action RPGs, and that's a good thing. The question is, can you balance out accessibility with also having lots of great content for more, you know, hardcore players? I don't think it's necessarily going to compete. People who are way, 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 way into Path of Exile, right? Path of Exile, like hardcore players, are still going to stick with that, because Path of Exile has a lot of content for the most grindiest of players. But you really love your ARPGs. I love them as they are. Because I like RPGs, right? I like theory crafting. I like crunch. ARPGs are about that. They're about working out builds, figuring out combinations. I love that. And it's fast. You know, I like my turn-based games, obviously. But for combat like this, like I really like the real-time stuff. I was one of the people when Baldur's Gate 3 announced that it was going to be turn-based combat instead of possible real-time. I was like, no, you can't do that. It would be awful. Turns out they made a pretty good game. But I have considered using one of the mods that makes your party members run by AI, so you just manage your main character. So it's not quite as slow to go through combat. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to rate a Kiss for Luck, who's playing a brand new game today that I've been interested in seeing. So she is playing Enshrouded, which is well, it calls itself an action RPG, but it seems more of like it seems to be more in the survival crafting genre to me than what we were playing over here. I'm eager to take a look at that, so we're going to do that. I will see you Monday the 26th. I am going to be away. We're not going to have Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. So 4 streams I'm going to be away for. The next live stream, as it says in our what game over here, and what should be updated on the next stream. There you go. The next stream has been updated. Will be Monday, February the 26th. We'll be back with, who knows? Last Epoch 1.0 will be dropped at then. Maybe we go and continue with ARPGs, or maybe we do something completely different. We'll see how we feel then. For now, we'll rate a Kiss for Luck. See you soon. Bye-bye.